Hello and welcome back to Lorehammer. I'm your host, Primarch. People have been telling me to use that, and I feel dirty just saying it. But hey, we're here nonetheless. Hey, I'm Primarch, and joining me, we got Court. Welcome.
Thanks, Primarch. Appreciate you letting me be on this distinguished podcast of facial hair. I'm contributing just a little bit, so it's good to be here. And it's weird hearing like the Lorehammer introduction and being part of it. I'm still getting used to it, and I hope I never get used to it. So it's awesome to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, man, love having you. And we also got Logan. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate being here with one of the lost Primarchs. Primarch, it's great to be here. Looking forward to our show.
Yeah, today's episode is the Primarch Project. So no, we're not talking about how I was discovered, unfortunately. That you have to go listen to another podcast to find out my origins. But we're talking about the Emperor's children themselves, the Primarch Project. And before we get into any of that, let's just do some quick housekeeping really quick. Yo, did you boys see Secret Level yet? The Space Marine Secret Level thing?
No, not yet. I've seen clips of it, and I am so stoked to finally. I'm probably gonna watch it after this. If I'm being honest, but
I watched it 5 minutes before, and
did you?
Fucking tight. I won't say any spoilers, but fucking tight.
Oh, what is this? I truly have no idea.
Amazon is doing a bunch of one-shot shows of things like Armored Core or Warhammer 40K, and the 40K one dropped yesterday or today, but it's really good. A lot of people are comparing it to the Astartes animation that was on YouTube. Like it's that good.
Is this supposed to be like teaser for the Cavill show kind of thing?
No, it's unrelated to the one Henry Cavill is attached to. This is just something they're doing. Yeah. Amazon's Secret Level.
I've been saying for years that 40K was gonna hit mainstream. We're just on that fucking cusp, and I truly believe, boom, now we're mainstream, man. Between this, between Space Marine 2, between all the Henry Cavill stuff, like, what a time to be alive in the 40K realm.
Oh yeah, it's huge.
All right, I'm checking this out as soon as we're done.
It's huge, man.
We just blew his mind.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
Grandmas, even they know about it. Everyone fucking knows now, man, and it's super cool. I'm so hyped for where 40K's at. Even though some of the stories are a little whatever, but fuck, I love it.
Good time to be alive.
It's cool seeing all this new lore, and they're just pumping out, like, not in a bad way, but they're putting out a lot of good lore and a lot of cool things for us to watch and consume right now. So it's a great time to be in the hobby. Even if you don't play the game, it's just fun to be here.
Yeah, man. Fucking 10 out of 10. So I won't say any spoilers about it. You know, if you guys had watched it, maybe would give some spoilers and give a little gap, but I won't ruin it for anyone. Just go watch it. Go check out Amazon Prime Secret Level. You'll find the Warhammer No Fear video, I guess. I don't know what the fuck you call it.
A Prime member or something?
Yeah, I believe you do.
Okay. Logan, I'll steal yours. I'll steal your account or something.
I'll live stream it. We'll do it later.
Okay.
Yeah. There's people on the Discord live streaming it. That's how I got to watch it tonight. So shout out to Grimaldus. Super cool, man. Fucking tight. Grimaldus even says in the chat, will we be streaming it in Discord afterwards? Yeah, I would watch it again for sure. It was only 17 minutes. So after the show, definitely I'd watch it up again. So maybe go check out the Discord if you need the link. Hit me up on Facebook or Instagram. I think there's also links in the description below under the link of all links, the link tree. So moving on, it's almost Christmas time. Merry Christmas-ish. Merry Christmas season, I suppose.
Yay.
If you guys want to send Lorehammer a gift, we accept gifts. I know somebody messaged me the other day and they're like, hey, I work at a winery and I want to make you a Lorehammer wine and send it to you. So I'm like, fuck yeah, I would love that. So maybe you don't have that ability to get me drunk on homemade wine, but maybe you just want to throw us $10. You can go to www.patreon.com/Lorehammer/gift and toss us a donation. There's a link in the below. Or we also just have one-time donations in the link below as well. And yeah, if you like the show and like what we do, just go toss us $5, say Merry Christmas, and I'll definitely feed my daughter with that kind of money for sure.
I like the wine idea. That's pretty clever. I love that. As a former home brewer, I can definitely appreciate that. But we also have the Patreon. Oh yeah. I love the creativity behind people giving gifts and stuff, and weird gifts are the gifts that keep giving. So Speaking of
friendship,
we've got Patreon, guys. Please join the Imperial Tithe and support the show. This is a direct way that you can continue this show going and push the boundaries of what we're able to give you guys, what Mark's able to provide for everybody here. So please join the Imperial Tithe on Lorehammer's Patreon. There's an ad-free version of all the podcast episodes for only $2.50 a month. And if you want to jump in and watch the video version, that's only $5 a month. So please support the show, jump on Patreon, and become a member of the Imperial Tithe.
And if you do join the Imperial Tithe, you'll get to join us live on stream and chat with us while we're recording the episodes. It's been a lot of fun seeing folks from the community getting their input and helping us with questions that sometimes we're wrong about. The other fun thing about that is if you join the Discord, there are people that add stuff about the episode after the fact. I was talking to someone about the water Tyranids after the fact. So it's definitely a very cool community that you guys should be a part of.
Yeah, the Discord's bumping, man. We have over 3,000 members on there. And yeah, it's a heck of a place. You'll find me on there basically 24/7. I live, breathe, and eat this shit, man. That's all I do. I'm just like, hook me in. Hurry up and hook me into the machine.
Yeah, the community's rad. I think it's cool to see everybody just kind of get involved. And like Logan said, like being able to actually interact with you guys. And it's almost like you're part of the episode itself because you're giving us input as we're doing this.
Yeah, heck of a lot of fun. All right. So we're jumping into the Primarch Project. Man, people have been asking for this for fucking years. Since we started Lorehammer, people are like, when are you going to talk about Primarchs? And I typically gave a snarky answer like, the what? What is it? What are those? You know, just really troll people, piss people off. But honestly, I was waiting for the Siege of Terra, the Horus Heresy books to wrap up. You know, I've been in the hobby for a long time, and in 2007 or 8 or whatever, they started the Horus Heresy stuff. And we didn't know where it was going, and I didn't want to say stuff like, well, they're going to add here, they're going to take away there. I wanted to wait till the story was kind of completed before I touched on these huge topics of Primarchs and legions and, you know, all the nitty gritties of the Horus Heresy. So let me give you some more context here about what's going to be happening this coming year with Lorehammer. We're going to be diving deep and hard into Primarchs and their legions. Basically, the plot and scheme is this. We're going to go through the legions in order, and they're each going to get 4 episodes. There's going to be 2 Primarch episodes. There's going to be kind of like an Origins and Crusade episode. And then we're going to jump to the Legion episode, the 30K era content. And then we're going to jump back to the Primarchs, and we're going to cover the Horus Heresy and kind of beyond, like if they pop back up in 40K perhaps, or they get killed off or whatever. And then we're going to do one more chapter episode, so not a Legion episode, but a 40K episode on them. So up first, we're going to have Lionel Johnson, then the Dark Angels Legion edition, then Lionel Johnson part 2, and then Dark Angels chapter edition. So we're going to have a bunch of content like that coming out. And just in case you get a little bored, don't worry. I'm still a Xenos sympathizer at heart. So in between every one of these 4 series episodes, we'll do 3 episodes of Xenos stuff, or like maybe the Odd Imperial Assassins episode, or just kind of your standard what you'd expect from Lorehammer content. But yeah, that's my goal this year. I'm looking at the barrel of like 18 times 4, whatever that amount of episodes is. But we're going to get through the Primarchs and Legions and shit.
72?
Woo!
Is that right?
Yeah. Something like that. Sounds right.
I just Rain Manned that. Did you see that?
Yes.
It's like a beautiful mind. No, I think that's it. Yeah,
The chat's saying you're wrong and your math is off.
I love that idea. I think that's a great map to have. Yeah, got it. 72. Thank you, Grimaldus. And I love that we are gonna be able to break it up too with some Xenos stuff. That's the way to go. I know Logan is very much against that, and that's fine. He's a
I'm a base imperial
tried
citizen.
And true. I know. But look, we need to spread some Xenos love, just as the Imperium spread their love across the galaxy and hugged a bunch of Xenos, right?
And by love, you mean their intestines on the hood of a repulsor, right? Just bouncing off my tank hood.
Exactly.
That's how I spread them.
Yeah, very nice. Just spread them on the tank tracks there, just right into the ground.
See, Primarch gets it.
Yeah, Primarch gets it.
Here we
I don't
go.
like that.
Here we go. It's too late.
Some more context about how this is going to work here. We got 2 episodes before we get into this Lionel Johnson stuff that I talked about. We're doing the Primarch Project, and then we're doing Founding a Legion. When approaching 30K content, I have kind of taken the mindset of what is relevant to 40K and what would people in 40K know? When I look at 30K, I come from the hobby from 20 years ago when we didn't have a lot of information about 30K. And I remember having hour-long conversations with my friends in the basement, just like, man, what do you think this Primarch was like? And what do you think, how did this actually play out? And all we did was just hypotheticalize about these characters. And then we got the Horus Heresy series, and there's a lot of good books in there. There's also a lot of books in there, we'll say, that aren't as looking at you, Battle for the Abyss. And I kind of want to approach these episodes from a point of mythos. We're going to pass over a lot of details that maybe are cool, but aren't necessarily relevant. And like I said, I kind of am asking the question to myself and writing notes, like, is this relevant to 40K? Would people in 40K even know this, or did this kind of get lost to time over the last 10,000 years? Otherwise, what ended up happening is I was writing Lionel Johnson notes and I hit page 60. I'm like, this is fucked. Even if I break this into 4 episodes itself, like, it's just so much information. And if you want that much information, you're better off just reading the actual books. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
I like that approach because there's also a lot of there's like you said, there's the myths of people. Oh, I believe this about the Primarch, or I think this about the Primarch. Then there's also what I think is an interesting aspect of them is Primarchs in their specific book, like Corax, talking about other Primarchs. That if you only read the book about the Primarch you like, you're going to miss information about him that comes from other books. So there's a billion little details, a billion little things you can know about them. But I think if you try to focus on the core and essence of who they are, it's a much more doable episode and it can tie into the current universe very well.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a sea of information. And I think you can go and do your own research and find what nitty-gritty stuff is available there. I think what our job here is to give you guys an overview and a bit of a deep dive at times on one of the biggest topics in Warhammer, especially because the Primarch Project relates to so many different things. It's kind of like this tree that spreads out, obviously, as we're going to kind of see metaphorically with the different chapters, but it's rooted, pun, in history within Warhammer itself. And there's a lot of events that take place in that time and how this affects other things later on. I think to go off and try and cover all these bases, all these branches and stuff would just drive us insane. And
And you would get lost in it, man. You would just get so lost in all of the details of it all.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot that we maybe just, it seems like we miss. It's probably a conscious decision to just not touch it at this time because, as we know, I love going down rabbit holes, and that will just continue to push us deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole. So I think the timeline or the roadmap that you've laid out, Mark, is really good in the sense that it offers little moments where we can, let's just talk about this a little bit and give context. But if you guys really want the nitty gritty stuff, it's the books. And even that, if you want to follow that, because everything has evolved over the time that we've been playing the past 20 something years.
Yeah, and this kind of leads me to my next thought when basically writing all of Lorehammer episodes. There are 2 very distinct approaches to consuming lore. You can consume it through novels, and you can consume it through codexes. I have always been a codex guy. There's the 2 different ways. You can either consume the narrative of 40K, or you can consume the setting and universe of 40K. And I've always been a setting and world building guy, where that's what I like. I like the codexes. I like that they give me the sandbox and then I get to go play in it, as opposed to knowing what this guy did on X day and so forth. You know, the 40K books, while they can be fun, let's be honest, they're not the best written books. Like, there are better books out there. No offense to the authors, you're better writers than I am, but also they're not Lord of the Rings, man. They're usually just bolter porn, and that's all well and good, but also novels can break the setting very often. They include one small detail here, and you're just like, what can of worms did you just open with that one line that you did as a throwaway, but now you've just really fucking messed things up. So that's the other approach I'm kind of going at when writing these episodes for the Primarchs and the Legions, is like, I approach it from the setting as opposed to the narrative. What do we need to know to play in the setting of 40K, as opposed to, I'm not writing and reading you guys a book.
Yeah, I think the setting's always been more fun than the actual books themselves. Because I enjoy a one shot of a cool character, but it's a one shot. I don't want to know the to how we got where we are today, because that's not as fun. I don't get to imagine what's happening with that. I'm ingrained in Primarch here, Primarch there. Primarch flew into the warp, and I'll never see him again. It's like, oh, but what if I did? But what if he came back? Ooh, so it can be exciting, but all the stuff in between, he's found and he's gone, is set in stone, and I can't do anything in that space with it.
Yeah. If you kind of compare it, because we're going to double nerd here, because you already opened up the door with Lord of the Rings, but I was watching the commentary on the Fellowship for the week, as I do, and they're talking about, like, people got upset, but, you know, just, it's the one time a week that I do it. And people were getting upset that Tom Bombadil wasn't in the movie, and that's true. Tom Bombadil is not featured in the Lord of the Rings Peter Jackson trilogy. However, the writers and producers have said, and director have said, well, you don't know that they didn't meet him in the woods. You don't know that they didn't actually talk to him in their journey. We just don't show it. I think that's a great way to kind of think about the setting versus story, is like the broad versus the definitive.
Yeah,
and I think when
that's perfect, man.
Really limited.
Yeah, like, just because we didn't say it doesn't mean it didn't happen. Like, it just maybe was not crucial to the overall story. Like, Tom Bombadil, very interesting character. You can go off on so many tangents about who he is, why he's in Lord of the Rings in the first place, but ultimately it has nothing to do with the story of the destruction of the One Ring.
Yep. Yeah.
Cool.
Hell yeah.
Fuck yeah. Well, next week when you watch your commentary, shoot me a link and we'll watch it all on the Discord together. I think that's weekly.
Sick. Yeah.
Start a new Warhammer watch party for whatever.
So with all that kind of context, I want everyone to keep that in mind before you send me angry messages about me missing stuff. We're coming at this from the setting approach, and we're coming at this from the approach of, what do people in 40K even know? What's the mythos of this all, as opposed to the daily grind of it all, the narrative. Cool. And with that, I think we'll start the Primarch Project. The Primarchs, the 20 genetically engineered transhuman sons of the Emperor of Mankind, were forged in the crucible of the 30th millennium. Conceived as immortal and superhuman paragons, they were to stand as the generals and proconsuls of the Great Crusade. The Emperor's monumental effort to reunite the scattered fragments of humanity under his unyielding banner. From their transcendent genomes, the Emperor fashioned the 20 Space Marine legions, each a reflection of their progenitor's essence. Bred for perfection, the Primarchs surpassed all mortals' limitations. They were giants among men, unparalleled in strength, intellect, and speed, their minds and bodies honed to the pinnacle of possibility. Beyond their physical and mental supremacy, they bore charisma that elevated them above even the greatest of heroes, their presence akin to gods of ancient myth. They were immune to disease, untouched by the ravages of time, and seemingly beyond the failings of lesser beings. Each of the Primarchs was an embodiment of war itself, a living archetype of its myriad facets. One was the ultimate strategist, another the incarnation of the war's primal terror. One commanded the psychic arts with peerless mastery, while another perfected the science of fortification. In their diversity, they were the Emperor's instruments to reclaim humanity's lost worlds and weave them into a fabric of the unified Imperium. The Emperor envisioned his sons as the greatest military commanders and statesmen in history. Through them, he sought to bring the imperial truth to the farthest reaches of the galaxy, uniting all human settled worlds in the name of progress, enlightenment, as his chosen heralds. They would carry his vision to the stars, reshaping the galaxy in his image. But the machinations of the Chaos God shattered the Emperor's grand design. Through the warp, these dark powers spirited away the Primarchs, scattering them across the galaxy to distant human worlds. Bereft of their father's wisdom and guidance, they were shaped and often scarred by their brutal realities of their adopted worlds. These trials forged their unique identities, but they also sowed the seeds of their imperfections. For all their divine gifts, the Primarchs were ultimately men, burdened with the frailties of their nature. It was all too human flaws that would prove the fatal flaw in the Emperor's dream, a tragic irony that casts a shadow over the greatness and the destiny of mankind itself.
Jeez. Yeah. Well, there's the episode, guys. Thanks for joining us. See ya.
We did it. When I said we're keeping it brief, that's what I meant.
That's crazy. That just that was a very brief description of what happened before we even get into any of them. And there's just so much information and like so many little cool tangents that we could have gone on with each one of those. It's so massive and so cool at the same time.
Yeah, maybe let's jump back and go maybe start at the 30th millennium, episode 101 and maybe 103 we did Thunder Warriors and the unification of Terra and Malkador the Sigillite. So after Earth was basically reconquered by the Emperor, his next plan was to unite all the human factions. During the Dark Age of technology and beyond, humans went out and colonized the galaxy, but they all got scattered and fragmented and lost communication with each other. And some empires remained, but ultimately there was no unifying force of humanity. And that was the Emperor's grand dream.
Yeah, that was I think hearing you read all that feels like the best summary of what the Primarchs are without getting into the nitty gritty, which we will, but goddamn, that was good.
Yeah. One thing I like about just this and the Unification War and the purpose of the Primarchs is you think of other galaxy-wide franchises like Halo, Star Wars, technically even Alien to a little bit. Humanity is spread out so far and they have like one or two little global forces to try to control or fix things. But in 40K, there are 20 legions of superhumans on top of an Imperial Navy, on top of the Imperial Guard, millions upon billions of people and soldiers, and then there's these 20 special super soldier legions. That is just such a cool setting and a scale that I don't think is common at all in sci-fi today.
Yeah, and what's rad too, I think, is like you said, the characterization and the personification of all these different things that you listed in there. Someone was going to be the master tactician, one of them's more the charismatic leader in these things. And even if you don't like Space Marines, you're not a Space Marine Imperium player and whatnot, there's a flavor for you. I would almost guarantee there's going to be a flavor for you. And that's, I think, a really cool draw. Initially, when I was getting into Warhammer, when I went to my first trip to GW was, you look on the left-hand side of the wall and it's all 40K and it's, okay, well, all of these are Space Marines? Well, yes, but they're different flavors. Like these are different chapters. So
why is one red and one blue?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like, and then why is it just a paint distinction? No. And then you keep going down that rabbit hole and it becomes the Primarchs and they kind of set the tone for each of the chapters. So
I think like in the current game, they also set the tone for the games themselves. Because if you're talking about Necrons or Tau, it's like, oh, it has stealth, that's -1 to shoot at them when you're 12 inches away. Everyone goes, oh, that's just like Raven Guard. Or, oh, I can advance and charge. Oh, that's just like the Space Wolves or the White Scars. Like
No,
everyone
bullshit,
else gets
Logan. No, don't.
he's salty.
No,
Everyone else gets
no.
compared to the Space Marines and the Primarchs. That's how influential they are in this universe and the hobby.
When you
Yeah, like I did a
reference
Science
Primarch right
King
there,
episode,
no.
and yeah, we did a Silent King episode and even the Swarmlord episode where we're like, yeah, the Swarmlord is like the quote unquote Primarch of the Tyranids. It's like that scale of creature, you know, everything kind of does get drawn back and compared to these mighty legions. It's interesting too, like, you know, when you know the Emperor as deeply and intimately as I do, you know that the Emperor has a plan for everything. You know, he's planned out every little thing. He can basically, you know, he has the power of warp foresight and can see into the future. And at times that gets blocked by chaos. But ultimately, he had a vision. And yes, he wanted this guy to do this Primarch to do this Primarch to take over this aspect. And when he was creating them, he definitely created them with that in mind. Different specializations, different roles in the Imperium. One is going to take over as a statesman eventually, etc. and so forth.
But they all represent him too, which is the great thing. Like, it's pieces of himself. So those are parts of his character ultimately.
Yeah, like we could get in the conversation, I'm sure we will eventually, of I've called the Primarchs the Emperor's sons. And, you know, that's a very common trope in 40K to label them that. And whether the Emperor actually saw them as his sons, they did take on aspects of the Emperor and amplified them, magnified them. But unfortunately, they also took on some darker aspects that took them away from the perfection that is the Emperor.
Yeah. Like, we think we can jump into the history here, and it might just like unveil a little bit of that for us. So, the history of the Primarch Project. The monumental endeavor to forge the Primarchs, undertaken before the dawn of the Unification Wars in the 30th millennium, is remembered as the Primarch Project. While its exact inception remains shrouded in mystery, Perturabo, in years later, estimated his own birth to be the year 792.M30, marking an approximate end to this ambitious undertaking, though he referred specifically to his arrival on Olympia. The Emperor's mastery of genetics was unparalleled, yet the precise methods by which he fashioned 20 distinct superhuman genomes, from his own arcane perpetual genetic code remain lost to imperial science. Unlike the crude practice of cloning, the Emperor employed a two-stage process. First, he extracted a subset of his DNA, forming a pure, undifferentiated gene stock template for the Primarchs. From this pristine foundation, 20 unique genetic templates were derived, each the blueprint for one of his transhuman sons.
Yeah, and right off the bat, we kind of learned that connection that they have to the Emperor, where they are made of the Emperor's DNA. They are a piece of him, and with that, it just goes into like, okay, where did the Emperor come from? Do you believe that it was all these shamans that combined their DNA into one form? Like, where did he come from? And now this lineage gets passed on to these next super mythical, charismatic, awe-inspiring figures that, like, you look at them and you're just like agape. You're just like, what? Wow. All you can say is wow.
It'd be really funny if there were 20 shaman that came together to make the Emperor, then the 20 shamans split out again into the Primarchs. New headcanon.
Hey, we're done. We need a new host here. Give us a new body. I'm sick of being roommates with you fucks.
What's cool though too is it's a very different inception than the Emperor's birth. So if we're going with the mythos of the Emperor being part of the 20 shaman ritual, where, you know, they all do the weird suicide pact kind of thing and then reform and kind of become him once he's born. This is the opposite in the sense that it's genetic. Like, it is very much science based. It is tooling and tinkering with genetics versus kind of the spiritual side where he was birthed.
Yeah. Even like there's there's the warp kind of magic that could go into things, or there's the science. There's also alchemy, which is like a third type of thing that could go into thing. Like Adeptus Custodes, they have like this alchemy type makeup where the space or the Primarchs, they're genetic. It's definitely a science. It can be replicated, it can be explained. It's not just magic.
Yeah. Cool. So, during the tumult of the Horus Heresy, fragments of this genetic mastery came under scrutiny. A Raven Guard, yes, Logan, you heard that correct, your favorite. A Raven Guard apothecary and a Mechanicum Magos Genitor uncovered unsettling truths. Certain Primarch genomes bore deliberate deletions from the pure gene stock, while others revealed the addition of non-human DNA. Most curious was Subject 6, whose genetic strand displayed canine-like elements. Though it is uncertain if these designations corresponded directly to the Primarchs, such findings could illuminate the wolf-like traits of Leman Russ and the feral mutations afflicting the Space Wolves, manifesting as the Wolfen. Modern Imperial scholars believe the creation of the Primarchs extended beyond physical engineering. The Emperor likely invoked psychic sorcery drawn from the warp, imbuing his creations with extraordinary abilities and charisma that defied genetic explanation. This melding of science and the arcane elevated the Primarchs beyond mere transhumans, yet also made them perilously vulnerable to the predations of chaos. Their brilliant souls, ablaze with immaterium, became beacons to demonic entities, irresistibly drawing their attention. Yep, there it is. Okay, so we talk kind of the DNA genetic time there, and then that's only part of it. And here comes the arcane, like you guys were saying. Boom, straight up.
This is maybe a good example of what I'm including as important, and we'll just give you a little bit about the planet Moloch. In 40K, would people really know that the Emperor went to Moloch and made a deal with the dark gods? You find that out that is what happens. But it's one of those things that would just get lost at the time, and you end up wondering, like, how did the Emperor actually go about getting these like extra things built into the Primarchs and stuff? You're left guessing. So this is one of those great examples of things I am aware of. I am aware of Moloch and stuff, but we got to keep looking at it through the eyes of 40K and like, what actually would people be aware of happening here? What are the secrets that are just too big and would have been lost to time?
Yeah, this is the equivalent also of Jurassic Park. Like, well, what was the gene sequence gap? Well, we filled it in with frog DNA. So for the Emperor, it's like, what was the gene sequence gap that you filled? Oh, we just used arcane weird knowledge and mysticism and threw that in there. That's got to work perfectly, right?
Works 9 out of 10 times.
It'll be fine. There's no way the Black Rage, Wolfen, whatever happened to the original Raptors, none of that'll happen. They're perfect. What are you talking about?
Nah. Yeah, very cool.
Cool. The origins of this arcane knowledge may lie in the age of technology, when the man who would become the Emperor journeyed with his fellow perpetuals, including Olivia Soreka, to Moloch. There, upon the distant night world, he passed through a hidden warp gate. Within the Immaterium, he bargained with its eldritch powers, acquiring knowledge and abilities that likely formed the foundation of the Primarch Project. Soreka, entrusted with guarding this warp gate, would remain on Moloch until the Emperor's armies reclaimed it a millennia later during the Great Crusade. This forbidden knowledge shaped the Primarchs not only in body, but also in spirit, endowing them with a magnetism and authority that transcended the limitations of their genetic heritage. Yet it also cursed them, for the very techniques that gave them their luminous souls rendered them susceptible to the corruptive influence of chaos. To protect his creations, the emperor inscribed intricate wards upon their gestation, capsules, and enshrouded the gene vault beneath the imperial palace in the Himalayan mountains with the most potent Geller field ever conceived. Oh man, that is so rad. And I do want to point out, it sounds like I'm mispronouncing Himalayan, but in 40K lore, it is Himalayan or Himalayan, and it is still actually referring to the Himalayan mountains. I'm right. Isn't that
sounds like
accurate?
something the British would do.
We're just gonna rename this place.
Yeah. Just throw a Z in there. It's fine.
It's Tuesday, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we get another little picture of the Primarch Project and how the Emperor actually went about doing this. He had these super secret gene labs in the Himalayan mountains, and in those labs they had the smartest scientists in there working with him. And then they had all these capsules lined up, and in the capsules they started vat growing the Primarchs.
Yeah, I think to talk about it as the Primarch Project also really denotes that it is a team effort. I know that we obviously give, all praise to the Emperor, yes, and well deserved in this sense because it's his idea. But this is a team effort. He had geneticists, he had scientists working with him on this, and I think that also speaks a little bit to his. I don't want to use the word love, but his affection for humanity, his kind of confidence in humanity is that he also allowed others to be part of this. Now, whether he used them and whether it was like this whole selfish kind of thing, that's neither here nor there. But I do want to touch on this, that it is a project that incorporates quite a few people.
Yeah, like the Emperor, he's not a selfish character. Like when you're dealing with thousands of people, yeah, he seems like he's a bad guy because yeah, you can sacrifice millions of souls, but if you're dealing with trillions of people, like it's a numbers game and it gets weird. But like the Emperor wants a unified mankind. He wants to make mankind better. He wants wants to take them to the next step. And it's not because he wants to like rule over them necessarily. It's they need a leader for sure. Every race needs a leader, but it is that he wants to bring mankind to the next level. Before the show, you were mentioning a chick that we should just briefly mention. One of the contributors is Arda, who is do you know much about her?
As far as I know, so Arda, however you want to pronounce it, but she was a perpetual that was very close with the Emperor. She was I believe a geneticist that was part of the Primarch Project and kind of instrumental in figuring out the genetic code with the Emperor. And in some stories and whatnot, she used part of her DNA or part of her being in order to kind of perfect it as well. And then we can kind of get into the rabbit hole of did she sabotage it and this and that. But there are two, I think, worthwhile mentions, just at least to acknowledge that there's Erda and there's also Astarte herself. Aman Astarte, I believe, was another geneticist that the Emperor brought on. And I think that is important to note also, like we said, this is kind of a team effort, but we tend to give the Emperor a lot of credit. Again, like we say, it's well deserved, but he's not perfect. He is basically the pinnacle of mankind. But if the pinnacle of mankind is one person and one kind of source, I don't think that speaks to humanity as a whole. We cannot do things completely on our own, whether we are the best in our field or not. I may be, and I'll toot my own horn a little bit here, like the best guitarist that I know personally. That doesn't mean I should be in a band by myself. That doesn't mean truly. And like this, I think, Mark, you are a great example where like you put this show together. This is you doing it alone I think would be
Whew, it would
and
be a nightmare.
you might not like it. But the ability like to bring us on and to bring the other guys on, I think that speaks to humanity as a whole, just as the Emperor speaks to mankind in the sense that he's the pinnacle of one man, but allowing others to be part of it speaks to the humanity that he really represents. I know I'm getting
Yeah,
weird.
no, I love it. Like, what is the experience of humanity? It's like it's relating with other people. What's the first thing you do when you finish painting a model? You're like, who the fuck can I show this to? Like, otherwise, why would you paint it if not to like share experiences with people? And that goes even into scientific endeavors.
Yeah, I've got like 5 people that I immediately text my models to, and 3 of them don't even play the game. They just think it's cool to see it.
Yeah,
Okay,
my
why
mom and
am I
dad
not
get
one
those
of them?
messages too.
You are one of them. Calm down.
When was the last time?
Why
you
am I
painted
not one of them?
Yeah, what the hell?
Well, okay, we weren't friends yet, Primarch, and Court. The last one that I sent you was the Demon Fuge. When I finished the sister, I sent that to you.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's right. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I did.
Grimaldus.
Yeah, go for it.
Grimaldus sums up perfectly. I feel like he would be the front man to a K-pop band.
Yeah. For the audio listeners, Court has been roasted mercilessly by chat for preaching this heresy today. So
I know that's fine, but we just call it E-pop, like Emperor Pop, instead of K-pop.
Bro, do they sing in high Gothic?
Yeah,
Sound like I need it.
Oh,
Is he all
love
cutesy too? Like, has he got his gold talons and he's doing the heart like this and everything with them?
no, he's doing the Aquila. He's doing the Aquila.
The Aquila.
Fuck yeah.
And if you guys want this album, you better join Patreon, and we'll try and make it a reality.
We're producing it.
I will make this happen. The E-pop band. Oh,
that's amazing.
It's not as good as Acid Tyrant, the band we came up with last time, but it's still a pretty good band.
Hell
still pretty
yeah.
good.
We're gonna make an entire library of 40K artists that aren't real, and it's just we got we got E-pop, we got Acid Tyrant.
Here's what I'm gonna do. I will state this now, and this is a promise. If we get, I'm gonna say 10, just 10 new patrons on Patreon by the end of the year, whether it's the $2.50 amount a month or the $5, it doesn't matter. 10 new Patreons at the end of the year. I will make band logos for each of these. And I'll give away the file, and you guys can either make stickers or whatnot. We'll figure that out. But I will absolutely make band logos for every single one that we mention here. It'll happen.
Well, I can tell you can start working on that already because we get a couple Patreons every day. So get on that. And then step 2 of that is, with AI music generators, we can get that music happening too. We can get this music out to the world. They need it.
This is where we're going to argue because I will not do AI generated music.
But
I understand.
I will say
that is heresy.
I'm not going to say who it is because I'm not promoting AI music, but there's someone on YouTube who does AI SpongeBob metalcore songs, and he clearly writes the lyrics for them. I broke Court. He just spit out his water chat. They're really good sounding, and I don't want to admit that, but he clearly wrote the song himself, but the lyrics and the voice, it's like, I've never heard Plankton singing metalcore, but I'm happy I have now.
Okay, maybe we can incorporate a little AI. That's fine. This is our Primarch project, is what we're doing.
I like it. I'm on board.
Right on. Well, so going back just a little bit, there was a Geller field placed over the hidden gene vault beneath the Imperial Palace, and just to protect everything. So, despite these defenses, though, the Chaos Gods discovered the Emperor's designs. Recognizing the Primarch Project as a dire threat to their dominion, they conspired to thwart it, seeking to extinguish the Emperor's dream of an Imperium founded on reason and scientific enlightenment. Thus, the seeds of the Primarch's tragedy were sown, their brilliance forever shadowed by the darkness that sought to claim them.
Ooh. Yeah. And here's another little piece of the Emperor's plan that's been revealed to us. We talked about him wanting to unite all of humanity under one banner, but he also wanted to unite them under one ideology, and that's reason and scientific enlightenment. And the reason for that is, the warp exists in this universe, and the Emperor was very aware of it, and he tried to shelter humanity from the knowledge of the warp as kind of step one. But also, he wanted to separate humanity from the warp. He wanted to take away kind of that emotional, that faith-based, like if you believe in corn and the more you do corny things, the more powerful he gets. So he wanted to kind of set up this ideology that kind of separated the warp away from them, and to allow humanity to truly kind of prosper without the chaos of the warp and the gods and their tinkering.
Is that a fool's errand, though? Like, to play chaos demon advocate here? But, like, is it a fool's errand to try and kind of push humanity towards a almost emotionless state where everything is based on reason and science? And I understand that, but it's still, we are creatures of emotion, and it kind of feels like, look, man, that's going to happen either way. And maybe that's the tragedy of it all. It's like the original sin and that kind of thing, and like we're all broken. Like, what, even if we're made to be the best at our pinnacle of whatever we can achieve, is it still not good enough, or is it still kind of flawed?
Yeah, like even the Emperor, who you were saying, like, yeah, he's the pinnacle of humanity. Like, he still felt sadness. He felt pride. He felt affection towards some Primarchs as opposed to others. So even him, he still was in this emotional state. And maybe the other factor that I think this one's a little more speculative and not necessarily, he wasn't quite there yet. He wanted to turn humanity into a psychic race. And so you get these two combinations where it's like, not only can they master the warp, they're also kind of like a little more zen, where they're aware of it. It's this many layered Ponzi scheme that he has to kind of set up, where it's like, first you kind of set up this, and most people have to believe in this because we can't have people just running amok. But then you elevate more people to become psychers, and more people, and then once you get enough psychers, then you can really kind of battle chaos potentially and overthrow them that way. But he never got that far in his plan for us to fully know what he was up to, what his end game was.
Well, I think even just your response there helps me understand it better. So yeah, that makes more sense to me. Thank you.
This whole conversation is helping me understand the Emperor better, because honestly, all the Horus Heresy books I read were from Traitor Primarchs or Korax, who was way out in the middle of nowhere, so they didn't get to talk to the Emperor a lot. So I was on the band Heresy. I was on that he just wants to dominate the universe for his own selfish purposes. But you guys like, no, there was a good reason he was doing it. And I'm like, this is breaking my brain. This is not the Emperor I grew up with. I'm confused now.
Yeah, even as a Xenos fanatic, I kind of still think that the Emperor was doing it out of good intent, and like humanity good intent, not just whatever the fuck he wanted.
I was thinking it was a peace through tyranny kind of thing. Was the vibe I always got.
It's that fine line, like, that's bound to happen. You have to be a little tyrannical if you want to rule over people. But like, it's like if you have kids, you tell them not to put that hand on the stovetop. Are you doing that because you're an asshole, or are you trying to save them from something they know nothing about?
Jax just said in chat, compassionate tyranny, and I love it.
What a fucking term that is.
It's compassionate tyranny. It's like the most gaslighty thing ever. Yeah.
My household is run by compassionate tyranny. Fucking hell.
Oh, good stuff. All right. So next we're moving on to the scattering of the Primarchs. The ruminous powers of chaos struck a devastating blow against the Emperor's grand design when they spirited his unborn superhuman prodigy away through the warp. In approximately 792.m30, deep within the gene vaults beneath the how did you guys say that? Himalayan mountains on Terra, what would later be known as the Imperial Dungeons, a cataclysmic warp rift tore through the Emperor's laboratories. The gestation capsules that housed his nascent sons, the Primarchs, were cast adrift into the Imperium and scattered across the galaxy, depositing these godlike beings on distant human colony worlds long shrouded in isolation since the Age of Strife. That's
and
crazy.
this right here is where we talked about it, I think in episode 120, the first one that you and I are on, Logan. This is kind of the idea where Sigmar is also one of the lost Primarchs, because these guys were scattered to different worlds.
Logan's
No.
fiercely
I know you're
shaking his
shaking your
head.
No.
I know. And we're gonna do the tinfoil hat moment here, boys. Here we go. Strap
I
it
got
in.
mine on. I'm ready. Take me on
Let's
this
go.
train.
So this is where it is fun and probably not lore accurate to think that Sigmar, the god emperor of mankind in the fantasy world of Warhammer, in Warhammer Fantasy and Age of Sigmar, obviously, that he is one of these lost Primarchs that we'll mention, because the idea is that his little tubey thing that was gestated into space landed on like a not a feudal planet, but like a fantasy style world where everything was very low tech. Everything was seemingly just kind of the British, medieval type style stuff. And because he's basically superhuman, he was raised to godlike status in that world. And so that Sigmar and 40K live happily. Notice the hand gestures I'm doing here, Logan. See how it's peaceful and nice?
I feel
See
like fantasy fans are going to be madder at you than I am.
Yeah, maybe. But look, it's one of those things where it's like, it's fun to believe, just like we said earlier, we don't know if they don't run into Tom Bombadil in the forest. And they don't know old man Willow, but he might be there. Just like, I don't know. Maybe. Definitely not, because I'm pretty sure that's not true at all. But it's still fun to think about.
I don't know.
And
Me and Court will be fist fighting people over this ideology after the show on the Discord. So if you have some words, come say it to 6'5" Court over there.
Yeah, and my
I bite
AOS
people.
says it's true. I'm just kidding. It does not, but I'm just pointing at it right now.
I'm 90% sure they destroyed the other two Primarchs. 90%.
We're gonna get into that, brother.
But there's your
I can live with
10%. There's that
10%,
10% chance. Yeah, there's your 10% chance one of the lost Primarchs escaped the warp and became Sigmar.
Yeah, fun little theory. Fun little theory.
A game theory. Okay, moving on. All right. It was during this dark moment, as the Emperor's creations were engulfed by the warp, that the seeds of corruption may have been sown. The insidious touch of chaos, even in this early stage, could have begun to shape the destinies of those Primarchs who would one day betray their father and the Imperium. Whether or not the Emperor foresaw this outcome remains unclear, but each Primarch ultimately found themselves in a world lost to the light of the greater cosmos, where the crucible of their upbringing would mold the spirits and temper their flaws. This is interesting to me because I don't know if you guys have read or listened to the audiobook for the Twisted Dagger, which is how Mortarion fell. But he literally, from the time he was conscious to when he gave himself to Nurgle, was basically hearing the call of Nurgle saying, come, come, come. He always felt something was off. And then when he was in the warp storm, watching his sons die, and then he heard Nurgle for the final time, come, it all made sense. And he basically, this is the purpose. This is right, what I should have been. And then he gave himself over to chaos. So
yeah,
I agree.
You can only be left to wonder.
Which book was this that you're mentioning, Logan?
Yeah, you can only
Buried
be
Dagger.
left to
I might have
wonder.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, you can only be left to wonder what would have happened to the Primarchs if they weren't scattered around. Would he have felt the calling, that whisper in his ear, if you're still in the Geller field on Terra? Probably not.
Yeah, that book is The Buried Dagger, Harris Horace book 54.
Dang. Right on.
Yeah, it was really good. I listened to it on a airplane going to North Carolina, and when we were coming in for the flight was when the big climax was happening and the music was roaring, and I'm like, this plane is shaking. I'm like, this is how this is meant to be heard. It was just so good.
You felt like Mortarion in his tube through
Oh,
space.
dude,
Through the
I did.
I
Like,
hear you, Nurgle. I hear you.
oh yeah, 100%. My eyes were open, but all I could see was the Geller field and the Primarch speaking. It was great.
Flight attendant goes by. It's like, sir, are you okay? And you're like, I hear Nurgle.
I just start
Sir,
screaming,
you're making the other customers nervous.
praise grandfather Nurgle and his plagues. What? No.
Oh.
All right. So this calamity dealt a grievous wound to the emperor's plans. His vision of conquest, millennia in the making, rested on the shoulders of these superhuman generals. Their absence threatened to unravel the fragile hope of unifying humanity under the banner of reason and enlightenment. With the galaxy poised on the knife's edge of survival, the Emperor faced an impossible dilemma to abandon his dream or adapt to the harsh reality before him.
Reason will prevail.
Reason will prevail.
Thank you.
When
Every
is the-
time I see that, I just think of if It's Always Sunny, and then just say like, reason will prevail. So good.
Classic
Sorry.
show.
It kind of makes me giggle though. When is the universe ever not on like a razor's edge or a knife's edge or a sword's edge? It's always.
What are you
about
talking
to
about?
blow
We
up.
currently even live in such peaceful times. Nothing bad's going to happen to us in the near future.
Nah, we're fine.
We're fine.
No. So another tangent. My uncle used to work on a surveillance submarine during the Cold War. And people would ask him when he came back, like, are you worried Russia's going to nuke us? And he'd start laughing because one of his jobs was to surveil their nuclear submarines. And he watched them do tests, and to test their launch tubes, they would fire tree trunks out of their submarine. So they'd fire a tree trunk straight out to make sure the propulsion system works. And they didn't think what happens when the tree trunk gets to its height. It came right back down, and he watched 2 Russian submarines sink that way.
That's fucking
Then-
crazy.
Then when they were doing live fire missile tests, he watched them open their bays, water flood in, and sink 2 more submarines. So he's like, I'm not worried about Russian tech hitting us. So I feel I carry my uncle's peace with me when I hear about war and stuff. I'm like, it'll probably be fine.
It'll work itself out.
Probably be fine.
When has anything bad ever happened?
Never. It's fine. I don't know what I was talking about. Oh, fun stuff. All right. In defiance of his catastrophic loss, the Emperor proved his resilience and ingenuity. The genetic material harvested from the Primarchs during their creation had already been used by the Imperial Biotechnical Division. That is the most normal name in the entire Imperium. The Imperial Biotechnical Division to fashion the first Astartes gene seed. From these samples, stem cell zygotes were cultivated, yielding genetically engineered organs capable of bestowing some of the Primarch's extraordinary traits upon ordinary adolescent human males. These transhuman warriors were to be the vanguard of the Emperor's Great Crusade. Only the finest and most valiant among his soldiers were chosen for this transformation, their bodies and minds reshaped into the warriors who would become the Legiones Astartes, the Space Marines. Though each Astartes was but a shadow of their Primarch progenitor, they could be created swiftly and in numbers sufficient to fulfill the Emperor's ambition. Where the Primarchs required centuries of meticulous crafting, thousands of Astartes could be forged and trained in a single Terran decade. That's still crazy. By 798.M3, these methods had given rise to a force of unparalleled might. With his space marines at his side, the Emperor launched the Great Crusade, an endeavor to reclaim the galaxy for humanity. Though the Primarchs were absent, the Legiones Astartes carried forward with the Emperor's will, their gene sires waiting in exile to join their legions.
Yeah, I think it's important to go back a touch and just emphasize something that you said, Logan, because it's very important, is the Astartes, so Space Marines were created in the vision of their fathers, which is the Primarchs. So you have, if we're doing this kind of tree thing here, it's like Emperor splits to his 20 sons, and we're just going to call them sons for now, so the Primarchs, and then those split to their respective chapters or legion. We're going to say legions right now because I guess it's not technically chapters. And so these Astartes, these space marines, kind of are conceived and grown and created without even knowing they're Primarchs, like without the representation of where they come from necessarily. So you already have legions growing and being created and formed without seeing where they come from, as far as like kind of the poster boy of who represents them.
Yeah, and it's interesting, even these legions at this early development were already showing signs of their forebearers kind of abilities. For example, the Thousand Sons, they suffered from the flesh change, where they were just ridden with psychic disease and psychic powers would just morph their body. And later Magnus, their Primarch, would kind of come and tame this ability inside them. But yeah, like it even went a little bit further as to like even some of their tactical approaches kind of bled into them genetically. The other thing I want to touch on too before GW gaslights me, there's only male Space Marines. That's all. There hasn't been female Space Marines. There never will be, and if they do, they're breaking 30 years of lore. GW, you can't gaslight me into saying there's always been female Space Marines. Get fucked. And the reason for this is just like the Emperor took his DNA, and then he made the Primarchs, and they were all male. And then they took that male DNA, and then they made the Astartes. And it's this tier that you're talking about, this tree system of taking this DNA from a dude, giving it to these dudes, taking their DNA and giving it to these dudes, and branching it down and down and down.
I think GW, either this edition or last edition, got in some hot water. I don't remember on which social network it was, but they put in the Space Marine Codex that only genetic males could be in there. And a lot of people from different communities were upset that they used the phrase genetic males for who could be a Space Marine.
Yeah, there's a lot of retards out there that don't know that men and women are different. And like, you do you go live your life, but don't fucking gaslight saying there's a third gender. Like, fuck off, man. Like I said, you do you.
Guys, like it's we're talking about a fucking game here. Like, this is nerd shit, and to kind of rail against it in the, like, I understand, and I think it was almost put best also. I think, man, way back in the Lorehammer day, I'm pretty sure you guys covered it. Like, PETA got really upset with GW about like animal representation with wolf pelts, and it's look,
Yeah.
look. I'm just gonna say, yes, I understand PETA. I get it, and I'm all for animal rights. This is also, and I'm just gonna, this is not 40K I'm holding up. It's a Song of Ice and Fire. This is a fucking plastic model. It's a fucking plastic model, and look, it's got fake fur on the back. Fake. This is a fucking plastic model. Okay.
Oh,
like,
man.
this is fake. This is all fake lore, guys.
Make believe.
Like, this is make believe. It's a game. And
Is fake fur fake murder?
It's fake murder.
Oh my god.
That's it. Get me my band hammer.
Cue the Morrissey.
Yeah.
And I do think it if you're, I know we're gonna get into, this is a bigger tangent. I just want to say, like, if you're railing against Space Marines because there's not female representation, I understand. However, you're missing part of huge female representation in this, which is, like we said previously, Erda, Amon. There are no Space Marines without these women. It in lore, if that's how you want to look at it, they didn't.
There are no human without women, man. Like, my wife has the magical power of growing a baby inside her. Oh, sure, I can do more push-ups than her, but what the fuck does that mean? Like, she has this magical ability to make humans, man. And that's the coolest thing ever.
I love how you describe that. That's great. Yeah. I think that's a rabbit hole maybe best not touched in this, but I think you're right. Like, they're trying to serve a lot of different masters, and I understand. I get it, but Look, it's just
Look
dudes
at me.
being bros.
I'm the master now.
Yeah, it's right behind him. Lore Master. I don't know. Oh no, Lore Hammer. I don't know why I thought I said Master behind you. That's your Discord title, isn't it? Yeah, that's your Discord title. That's why I thought that.
Yeah, you're just a little lore master light over there, but that's good. That's fine.
It's
Laura
nice.
Princess.
Lore
Lore
Apprentice. I like Lore Apprentice. That feels more appropriate for what's going on here.
And then just going back to that family tree before we carry on with the reading. We're talking the Primarchs are the sons of the Emperor, and the sons or the Astartes are the sons of the Primarch. Then the Astartes are all cousins essentially.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, like you almost never see that describer thrown around. You see lots of times when reading the Horus Heresy books, like brother versus brother, but it's really more like cousin versus cousin.
Yeah.
I know in I forgot what it's called, but it's the Warhammer Plus show that has the Necrons, the Salamander, and the Ultramarine in them. The Ultramarine and the Salamander do call each other cousin frequently.
Oh,
Did
cool.
they really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't. It's is it Pariah Nexus?
It might be Pariah Nexus. I haven't seen all of it, but I saw bits of it, and that was one of the things. Was the Ultramarine apothecary is talking to the Salamander, and they're getting sassy with each other, and they're basically like, "You best watch yourself, cousin," and then they move on.
Okay,
Cool.
that was a good show. That was a good show.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Now moving on to this is why you went on that little tangent there. The creation of the Adeptus Custodes. The Emperor's personal guardians stands apart even from the mighty Astartes, derived from the same pure, undifferentiated Primarch gene seed. Their genetic structure contains 12 additional elements, elevating them closer to the divine essence of the Emperor himself. Their modifications, though simpler than the unique genomes of the Primarchs, imbue the Custodes with an unparalleled bond to their masters and a peerless sense of duty. The shared origin of these transhuman warriors, the Custodes, the Astartes, and the Primarchs alike, speaks to the brilliance of the Emperor's vision and the terrible cost of its realization. Each step removed from the undifferentiated template diminishes the spark of the divine, but all owe their existence to the same source, the Emperor's own essence, harnessed to forge instruments of salvation in an age of ruin.
Hot take here, and this might be the similarity of like Mark, you and the Primaris. I don't like Custodes. I just don't. I just
Why?
I
Who
okay,
hurt you as a child?
it's probably because I got beaten by Griffin, one of our friends who like plays Custodes, and it's like I don't fucking think it makes sense to have as an army on the table, and B, to say like we had paragraphs and paragraphs of like Space Marines are so cool and they're like the cream of the crop, they're Top Gun, and they're the best of the best, and they represent their father in the pinnacle of humanity, and then to go and say, oh, and then there are these other guys who are actually just better. Like,
here's my super soldiers, and here's my super duper soldiers.
Yeah. I agree. I don't think them, and I don't think knights should be their own army in 40k. I think they should be a unit you can add, like the assassins. And I haven't played Griffin's Custodes, but I've played some other folks that played them, and it is not a fun experience.
Lorehammer Legal does not stand by all the opinions of the lore hosts.
We're all gonna hate something.
But in this case, yeah.
I was gonna say, but we're right. No,
but we're right.
But we're right. No, I mean,
I get what you're saying about the Custodes for sure, and being a tabletop army. Like
it's like a worse thing of playing someone who runs just Terminator spam. It's not fun for the it looks cool, but it's not fun for the opponent. It's just a slog fest, and it's like, okay, you can kill me a lot more efficiently than I can kill you, but you're slow. This is fun and interactive gameplay.
Well, what about all grot spam? How do we feel about all grots?
Based and red pilled. That's what we think about that.
I am all about that. Yeah. And I think lore wise, like we see the cool flaws of Primarchs and their respective, chapters. Where are the fucking flaws in the Custodes? Like there aren't any, except that they're minimal in numbers and they ride dumb bikes. I don't know. Like, it just,
okay.
who is
So
it?
the captain on jet bike, he's who hurt you. I know that model all
Judge
too
Dredd, the
well.
guy that looks like Judge fucking Dredd. Now, here's the thing, like, and I might be quoting you guys from way back in the old school Lorehammer days, but it's something that you guys said, I believe, that was like, it's the flaws that make characters stand out. It's like the imperfections. If you're oh, here it is. And I don't know if I'm just gonna credit you guys, but if you're if you're good at everything, you're interesting at nothing. And I feel like that is the Custodes, where it's like, oh, they're just good at everything. Well, then I don't care because I can't relate to them. Because guess what? I'm not good at everything. Like, flaws make characters more interesting. And I think the Custodes just are this bread and butter, like this white bread kind of like, yep, they're gold. They're perfect. That's it.
Oh man.
Okay.
Yo, it's a trip. Like I've heard you a couple times saying it's a trip to be on Lorehammer, but it's also a trip having like a super fan be on the show and like have you quoting stuff I said years ago. I fucking love it, man. I love the little friendships developing here.
This is parasocial relationship grown into a real relationship before our eyes.
Yay. Excellent. A blossoming friendship. Excellent. So supple. What would be the downfall of our friendship? Like the negative side? Are we going to turn violent at some point, or like what will make us
kill you? And then like Logan will have to avenge you.
Okay.
That's it. No,
Okay.
really, it's because I love Space Wolves, and that's where you and I are going to.
Oh God. All right.
Anyway.
So, the Primarchs have been scattered across the galaxy. They've each landed on different worlds, and each one has different obstacles that they have to overcome. And when we get to the Primarch episodes themselves, we'll talk a little bit about that. But as for now, we'll jump to the rediscovery of the Primarchs. As the newly forged interstellar human empire expanded during the Great Crusade, the Emperor employed his unparalleled gifts of psychic foresight and precognition to locate his scattered sons, the Primarchs, across the vastness of the galaxy. One by one, he reunited these superhuman beings with their respective Space Marine legions, restoring to each legion their guiding presence of its gene sire. Each Primarch embodied the spirit, temperament, and martial philosophy of their legion, serving as both a father and as an older brother to the Astartes. To their warriors, the Primarchs were the ultimate exemplars, living manifestations of the ideals they strove to embody in their ways of war. The reunion of the Primarchs with their legions marked the zenith of the Great Crusade. Under their command, the Imperium achieved staggering victories, bringing thousands and eventually hundreds of thousands of human-settled worlds into Imperial compliance. I love that word, Imperial compliance. Whether that means just bombing the entire planet so there's no more humans left to comply, well, it's a compliant world now, or actually going down and negotiating peace deals and like, well, you probably shouldn't be fraternizing with these Xenos, and anyways, we killed all those Xenos, so you can't fraternize with them anyways, so...
And it's stuff like that made me think the Emperor was a tyrant. Like, he wants absolute control. If you won't be with him, then he doesn't need you, vaporize you.
Well, compassionate tyranny, remember? He's keeping you safe from those dirty, filthy Xenos. He doesn't want you to get an alien STD.
I was going to say, is he doing if I can't have you, nobody can? Is that the Emperor's philosophy?
Kind of, yes.
The Emperor is the ultimate abuser, is what I'm getting out of this episode. And you guys are like, no, he really cares. He's gaslit you two into believing he really loves you.
Look, gaslighting's not real. It's something you made up.
Hey, you can't do that.
There's
reunited
cool,
legion.
Sorry, I want to touch upon this because oh wait, maybe it's after this. There's a really cool moment that I think you're gonna talk about. So I'll pause for a moment. There we go.
The reunited legions carved a path of conquest, their deeds resonating with the awe of ancient Terran myth. The Primarchs strode the battlefields like demigods, their power and charisma unmatched, their victories seemingly inevitable. Yet for all their grandeur, the Primarchs were not free from the flaws of humanity. Despite their godlike stature and purpose, they remained at their core, men. They were jealous and arrogant, fiercely competitive, and prone to harboring grudges, not just against one another, but even against the emperor himself. Whether these imperfections stem from the taint of chaos during their infancy or simply the indelible marks of humanity that even the emperor could not erase remains a matter of conjecture. What is certain, however, is that these flaws sowed the seeds of the Imperium's greatest tragedy. Their very traits that made the Primarchs so intensely human also led to their downfall and the cataclysm of the Horus Heresy, a conflict that plunged the galaxy into 10,000 years of unending war and stagnation and decay.
Yeah. Wow. There's the flaws, and I think we'll get into the nitty-gritty of what they are, but it's interesting to think about the reunion of legions and their respective Primarchs. Like, you are so clearly, above everybody else as far as mankind goes. You're a member of the Legio Astartes, but you have flaws, and you know that your Primarch or your kind of father, your poster boy, has been missing, and hopefully, and I would bet it's like this. We hope and pray, to the emperor that they are found, and that once they are and reunited, it's got to be like this crazy fucking like prophecy that's being fulfilled, and to see similarities within yourself in somebody that is greater than you, I think is wild. There's a lot of times, like, growing up, you'll start seeing, I'm older now, I'm 37. It's like I start seeing like, oh, I avoid conflict because my dad does. I see that. And oh, I do this because, my dad does that, and his dad did that. And in this parallel, though, it's kind of like we have, the the legions with their flaws, but their strengths as well. And then they see the guy that's basically representing them the greatest. It must be so fucking inspiring as a legion to be like, oh my God, we're now complete. Like, we are now ready.
Yeah, I love that. I wonder too, like, during the start of the Great Crusade, did they know that their Primarchs were missing, or was this kind of like a secret? And then they found Horus, and then at that point, they're like, there are Primarchs out there for all of you, and we will find them. Because like I kind of wonder if the Emperor was like, they're lost. Unfortunately, they could be dead, they could be lost. Like, we might not ever find them. So maybe I just won't reveal this secret. And then even like the Emperor himself, like, found one. And he's like, holy fuck, I didn't think I'd find Horus. Horus, come here, my boy. Like, that would be a crazy trip too, even taking it to that level. And then naturally, yeah, like what you said, like, yeah, every time a new legion finds their gene father, it's like this huge celebration, like, this piece of me that was missing, like, this is why I am the way I am.
Yeah, I think you're right too. It was probably kept secret at first because why point out the flaws in something that you've worked so hard on that is supposed to kind of be perfect? And then afterwards, then it just became motivation almost. Like, no, we need
Yeah.
to go claim this shit, and in hopes of finding our gene father.
Yeah, exactly. Very cool. Nemo Forever says, like how psychers. Could the Emperor as a psyker feel his sons being not dead? I'm pretty sure it does say that, and like the Emperor has that psychic foresight, so he might have got visions of him actually reuniting with some of his sons. And then the other kind of piece to this too is he was in communication with Magnus the Red before Magnus's discovery. So he did have the ability to psychic communicate with at least one Primarch. And most of the Primarchs do have some type of psychic power. So maybe there is like a one-way communication where he's sending out messages, and the Primarch could, just like Mortarion, hear the Chaos God. They might hear the calling of the Emperor, just not be able to send a message back. But hard to say fully.
Yeah, that's a good point.
One such example of the Primarch's vulnerability was Angron. Upon his rediscovery, it became clear that he had been irrecoverably altered by the implantation of the butcher's nail, brutal cybernetic modification inflicted by the gladiatorial slave lords of Nursia. This abhorrent technology designed to amplify aggression and rage was slowly destroying him. The Emperor, alongside the legendary mechanicum techno-archaeologist Arkin Land, studied the butcher's nail in an attempt to understand their horrific efforts and perhaps save Angron from his torment. In the course of the investigation, the Emperor revealed a stark truth to Land. He harbored no emotional attachment to the Primarchs. They were, in his view, tools crafted to serve humanity, weapons forged to achieve his grand design. Yeah, this is an interesting thing. Like, this is almost one of those lines where it's like, you can't always trust what people say. Even though it's written down, was the Emperor telling Arkenland the actual truth, or was he playing some 8D chess where he had to tell him that so Arkenland looked at this less emotionally himself? Maybe he needed that push to be like, listen, like, we put aside your feelings for a second. We got to solve this problem. And maybe he was just doing that for Arkenland's sake. It's so hard to tell somebody's emotions or to tell somebody's actual true intentions just by one thing that they've said to one person.
That's tough, man. That's really tough to think.
I don't know. I feel the way he's also treated his sons, though, kind of show that. Like, Perturabo is just a siege master. That's all he ever was, and the Emperor never gave him the time of day. That's literally being used as a tool for everything.
But look at it this way, you know, him and Horus were tight. They were homies, man. They went on crusades together. They became very close. Now, let's pretend you're the Emperor and you have one kid and you're super close with that one kid. Then you have two kids and you're super close with those two kids. By the 18th kid, you're like, I barely know that guy. I don't have time for him. I already have Horus. Like, so once again, just because something was said in the book doesn't necessarily make it true.
If we reframe it, just real quick, if we reframe it as rather than being tools of his grand design and whatnot, but like almost view it as like employees. I know it doesn't sound great, but like I know
that is the most capitalist thing ever. Like, they're not tools, they're employees.
They get benefits. They get a 4001k. See what I did there? They get a oh god. Here we go. Oh my god. Okay. Yeah. But I think tools is the wrong word. And just to play devil's advocate here, it's like it's the idea that they stay in their lane. Like, they're good at what they're good at, and you keep pushing it that way. Like, you're not going to put me on an employer's not going to put me on a project where it's just a bunch of spreadsheets. I'm not going to fucking do well there.
I see what you're saying. You know using them for their strengths instead of like fostering. Magnus is good at Psyker, so you give him libraries. Gilliman's a statement, you have him do statement stuff. Horus is a war master, you war master stuff with them. Okay, that makes a little more sense.
Robot Gilliman, Nemo says, I do taxes.
Yes. Which, by the way, is a funny little throwback also to a Funkatronic Rex podcast episode that you were on, Mark, when we talked about what would the Primarchs do, or characters in 40K, if there was no war. So little thing here. I think we talked about Rabute Gilliman being a motivational speaker, and also like a Tony Robbins thing, but he would also I think be like a what was it, like a consultant in your corporate tier kind of thing.
Here's how you can take your business to the next level. Yeah, and we had like Lion or Lehman Russ opening like a petting zoo and stuff.
Yeah,
good ones.
Yeah.
The other comment, just jumping back to that tool statement, that is very common. It's very well-known statement. I was an electrician for many years, and I had a favorite tool. I treated that tool well, and when I exploded that tool in an electrical explosion, I was sad for it. I lamented the loss. So even tools you can have affection for, you can treat well. and like you can still cherish them. They can still be beloved. I love that fucking tool until I blew it up.
I need to know what tool it was.
I can't talk about it. It's too soon.
No.
Logan.
I'm gonna go to bed. I'm gonna look at all my tools because I'm doing electrical stuff right now, and I'll be like, which one was his favorite? Which one of you was his favorite?
Which one did he go to bed with every night and WD-40 it? He took such good care of it until some apprentice didn't flick off the breaker like he said he was.
That's a pee-pee slap moment.
That's a pee-pee slap.
I mean, I think in the trades they probably could do that and get away with it, from what I've heard.
Yeah, lots of pee-pee slaps going on in the trades for sure. Yeah, not very well HR resources going on there. Not a lot of oversight.
You guys don't have any corporate consultants coming down telling you how you can turn your wrench better?
No. The only people that really seemed to care for us was like those safety ladies who are like, oh, make sure you're wearing your hard hat. And beyond that, I don't think anyone really cared for our souls. But like I said, I'm not ready to talk about this. This is too soon.
Arc of Lorehammer.
The lore of Lorehammer, episode 1, trauma.
How it manifests.
Yeah, how trauma and how it manifests. I have a podcast with some friends.
Look, the warp is
ocean. Oh man. Were any of these other comments jumping out to you guys? I know there's a couple that maybe were interesting.
From chat?
Yeah.
Grimaldus is HR, so that's good to know. That's what I got out of this.
Okay, that's good enough. I'm gonna watch my language around him now, knowing what he's capable of. Anyways, we'll jump into the next little bit here. When questioned why he allowed the Primarchs to address him as father, despite his professed detachment, the Emperor shared an ancient Terran tale, the story of Pinocchio, the puppet who longed to become a real boy. He explained that it was the nature of any creation to seek a bond with its creator, to yearn for a meaning and connection. In allowing the Primarchs to call him father, the Emperor acknowledged their desire while remaining steadfast in his purpose. To be honest, I don't know where that came from and how true that is, but I found that was an interesting little thing on Reddit, I think is where I personally came across that little tidbit. But I cannot verify if the Emperor was truly talking about Pinocchio or not in one of the Horus Heresy books.
I'm just picturing like the Meat Canyon video of Pinocchio and the Primarchs going, "Do I look like a real boy, Papa?" Whenever they do something.
Yeah, like if he calls the Himalayans, was it really Pinocchio or was it Pinocchia? Hard to say. This paradox that the Emperor viewed his sons as instruments while they saw him as a father lay at the heart of the Imperium's greatest triumphs and deepest betrayals, shaping the destiny of humanity in ways that even he may not have foreseen. Yeah, if he maybe took a little more time and care with some of these Primarchs, would it have been a different story?
I don't know. I think that kind of goes back to the like, we're all humanity's all flawed, and even if you make the quote unquote like optimal human, like it's still a flaw, like something would be bound to happen. It's kind of tough to say that like the Horus Heresy wouldn't happen had Big E just treated them better. I don't buy that. I kind of think that it would have happened, maybe not the way it did, but I think it was almost inevitable.
Yeah, and especially when you throw in like they didn't just have the influence of, oh, Dad left me alone to go on this great crusade. Like Logan mentioned, Mortarion had a chaos god whispering in his ear from the time he emerged from the pod. There were dark machinations at play here.
Yeah, and it's going even further back to earlier when you said some of the legions were waiting for their father to come back. I think before they found Fulgrim, the Emperor's children had been reduced down to being used as just a parade legion because their seed was corrupted and they couldn't get enough legionnaires to do anything, and his finding literally saved that legion from going extinct. So it's interesting. There's so much cool lore about the individual legions and where they're at, and just it's such a cool thing. This is such a fun IP in general.
What did we say? 72 episodes we're about to get into? Dun dun dun.
Oh yeah.
We'll get there. We'll get there. It's funny, like this is just a context episode. We have to talk for 4 hours just to set up context for the fucking Primarchs.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's what you guys did though in the early days, was like you guys had like 10 episodes of like just context. The talking about the different ages of man, the Imperium, talking about the war in heaven. Like you kind of can't get into that other stuff without laying the base, and it's a fucking big base to lay here. It sets the tone for so much, and I think that's just kind of the nature of it. Like there's a lot here, and we're going to get into the nitty gritty, and we're also going to get into like the tinfoil hattie stuff too, which I know Logan loves. So
as long as it's not fantasy related, I'm in.
So moving on to the order of rediscovery of the Primarchs.
Yes. So this is where we get into a little bit of who was found when. So sorry, let me just look at this here real quick. So as the Great Crusade surged across the stars, the Emperor devoted his unparalleled psychic gifts and strategic acumen to the monumental task of locating his missing Primarchs. Each of these superhuman beings has been scattered across the galaxy in their infancy, yet their unique genetic signatures and extraordinary deeds left a trail that even the chaotic expanse of the warp could not fully conceal. The Emperor found his sons in an order dictated by both circumstance and necessity, their discovery marking key milestones in the Great Crusade, from the fiery warlord Horus to the enigmatic Alfarius Omegon. Each rediscovery brought new strength and new challenges to the Imperium's quest for galactic unification. Whew. Yeah.
Yeah. It is interesting that like we have the dates for when all these people are discovered. We have their homeworlds. I think the best way to kind of learn all that, if you really want to know the actual order of discovery, go to Lexicanum, go to 40K Wikia, DM me, I'll send you my notes. You can plow over them over and over and over and over if you want. But the two that mentioned that you kind of did was Horus was first and Alfarius Omegon was last. And we mentioned Horus was one of the Emperor's favorites, and that's partly the reason why, is because he was the first. He was the first kind of like I kind of picture the Emperor going back. Like, did the Emperor really know how many of them were out there and alive? Like, yeah, he was talking to some of them. Maybe he felt the really close ones. Yeah, he had some foresight, but also during this time, the warp is very turbulent, and Chaos was like manipulating his foresight. Like, he couldn't really trust his visions. So I can just imagine, yeah, that like, holy crap, I found Horus, and then the bond that they slowly built. And yeah, very, very fun. So definitely go check out Lexicanum, and if you really want to know the dates of discovery and all the order and all that kind of stuff.
And it's worthwhile mentioning that two of them are just lost. Like, we just don't know anything about them, and we never should.
That a boy.
Never should,
unless it's Sigmar, of course.
Yes, unless it is proven to be Sigmar, then I'm totally okay with this. And Logan is 100% on board. You are nodding your head, yes, for all the listeners on the podcast.
He's lying, chat. I'm not nodding my head.
Sigmar shirt you're wearing? Oh, everybody listening. Yep, 100%.
If you go on youtube.com
100%.
at Lorehammer, you can see I'm wearing a very nice forest green shirt with gray sleeves. There
hey,
is no Sigmar
don't
here.
gaslight us. There is no YouTube Lorehammer. It's a podcast, you fool.
Join the Imperial Tithe, and you can see me on the live stream, and you can see Court's lies in real time. That's the best way to do it.
Oh my gosh. Here we go. Well, speaking of heresy.
I like the segue.
Speaking of brother against brother, So the Horus heresy, now it gets dark. At the zenith of the Great Crusade, the emperor's dream of uniting humanity under a single banner teetered on the edge of annihilation. The fall of Horus, the emperor's favored son and newly anointed war master, marked the beginning of an age of unparalleled betrayal and bloodshed. Seduced by the insidious whispers of chaos, Horus turned his gaze away from the light of the emperor and descended into darkness. With the charisma and cunning that had once made him a paragon of loyalty, he drew 8 of his brother Primarchs into rebellion, fracturing the Imperium at the height of its power and setting the stage for the galaxy's greatest tragedy. Thus began the Horus heresy, a galactic civil war where I'm teetering with excitement because this is just the coolest part. So thus began the Horus heresy, a galactic civil war where brother turned against brother and legions once bound by the ideals of the emperor clashed in catastrophic battles that scarred the stars themselves. The fallen Primarchs, consumed by jealousy, pride, and hatred, became avatars of chaos. Their legions transformed into traitorous hosts waging war against their loyalist kin. The heresy reached its crescendo during the apocalyptic Siege of Terra, where the very fate of humanity hung in the balance. Oh, everybody excited? Yes.
I
Yes, we
am.
are.
I love fighting brothers. It's my favorite pastime. I've murdered 4 of my own.
Nice. I think the coolest trailer GW has ever done is the latest, or the one that they did for the new edition of the Horus Heresy, where Horus is talking over everything, and you can see the Imperial fists fighting with the Sons of Horus, and then he goes, "If this is what you want, Father, then let the galaxy burn." And there's just explosions behind him as the dead Marine falls off of his claws. It's so cool and so cinematic. Just
So good.
mwah.
Titans firing at each other in the background.
So good. So good.
Yeah.
You may all now be excused for a 10-minute wank to think about these thoughts further in your own time. We will reconvene.
I was like, where's he going? What happened? I was reading the chat like, did Jeff say something? What is this?
And we're back.
Just like that.
At the height of this final conflict, amidst the ruins of the Emperor's grand dream, the confrontation destined to shape the galaxy unfolded. High above the surface of Holy Terra, aboard the massive Gloriana-class battleship Vengeful Spirit, the Emperor faced Horus, his most beloved son. Now his greatest enemy. The air crackled with the weight of the moment, the collision of titanic wills that would echo across eternity. The Emperor, burdened by the profound sorrow of a father confronting his corrupted creation, held back the full force of his godlike power, reluctant to... I'm already getting so emotional reading this. Gosh damn it. It's so good. Look, this comes as no shock for Logan, but I'm a very emotional guy, and like reading this is just fucking devastating. Just so
I have in person several times sung the "He's a sensitive guy" from Impractical Jokers when something's happening, and he's just like, I am.
Oh my gosh.
But this is like core 40k mythos, man, and this is where it all stems from, and this is why the grim dark is the way that it is.
Yeah, it is. Here we go. All right. I got this.
You've got this,
right,
buddy. I believe in you.
Thank you. Here we go. The Emperor, burdened by the profound no, god damn it. It's so good. Okay. Take 3. The Emperor, burdened by the profound sorrow of a father, confronts... Logan, you fucking read it. I can't. It's so good. And as a dad, I'm getting so emotional.
I got you, buddy.
Logan, take it.
The Emperor.
Logan, take the wheel.
I'm literally like tearing up. This is, it's so.
All right. The Emperor, burdened by the profound sorrow of a father confronting his corrupted creation, held back the full force of his godlike power, reluctant to destroy the son he had once cherished above all. But Horus, consumed by the malevolence of the Chaos Gods, showed no such hesitation. With the ferocious born of betrayal, he struck down the noble Sanguinius, Primarch of the Blood Angels, before turning his wrath upon the master of mankind.
Jeez.
Yeah, I'm glad my story with my electrical tool didn't end that way.
Your little
my beloved tool, now I must kill you.
I'm calling it a socket wrench. Your little socket wrench just looks up at you and is like, "We're done here,
Papa,
Father."
No.
It's grabbing a live wire and trying to tag you with it.
Thank you for taking that. That was good.
I got you, buddy.
Gosh. Man,
No.
yeah, it's such a like I feel like it's the pinnacle of 40K kind of, even though it's 30K, like it just sets the tone. It's the broken history that really, really, I think, makes decisions all the more important. Like when I play against Tyler's World Eaters and I'm playing like, you know, if I play Space Wolves, it's like, fuck you. Brother, you fell and we are still here. Like it feels personal almost. I love it. It's good.
And he lunges across the table at his opponent.
Yeah. All right. I think I can keep going on. I was a little verklempt and now I've steered myself. Here we go. It was only in the face of his own imminent destruction and the full weight of Horus's corruption that the Emperor unleashed the vast, unfathomable might of his psychic power. In an instant of divine fury, the War Master was utterly annihilated, body and soul, erased even from the warp itself. Are you listening, GW? Erased from even the warp itself. Don't bring him back. Ensuring that the ruinous powers could never revive their broken pawn. But the victory came at a terrible cost. The Emperor, mortally wounded, was entombed upon the golden throne, his dream of unity shattered, replaced by millennia of decay and endless war. That's how you want to get somebody into 40K, you read like the past 3 paragraphs. Especially if somebody's interested in doing like Astartes. Okay. Yeah, these boxes are cool, but let me just read you this real quick. History of what you're about to get into.
Another plastic crack addict was formed today. I love it.
That's right. So we used to at Funk, at the game store where I was working, when someone got into 40K or even Age of Sigmar and whatnot, I would definitely embarrass the shit out of them when they checked out. So like I'm at the till, I'm at the register, and they made the payment. Good. Okay, they got their combat patrol or whatever it is. And then there's usually like 3 tables of people playing in the back or just hanging out. And I would just all right, guys, he's in, she's in, they're in, here we go. And then they'd like,
we got another.
And there would always be like, what are they playing? Like Dark Angels. And like 3 people would be like, yeah. And someone would be like, boo. You know, just
so funny.
And you're already in. Like there's this infighting within the game itself of like heresy and you know, Imperium. Rad. So
yeah, you hear the odd guy go, "Wog!"
Yes, right. There's always the one guy. And then there's me just going like, Xenos for life. Anybody? No.
Oh, cringe.
All right. Well, speaking of traitors, Logan, the traitor legions, bereft of their leader, fled into the Eye of Terror, a realm as twisted and cursed as their souls. There, the Primarchs, consumed by their dark bargains, surrendered what remained of their humanity to ascend as demon princes. They became lords of chaos, ruling over fragmented empires of madness and despair within the warp. Eternal testaments to the ruin wrought by ambition, betrayal, and the inexorable pull of corruption. Thus, the Primarch Project, the Emperor's grand experiment in creating that's a little bit of a spoiler there, in creating demigod-like beings to lead humanity to a golden age, ended not in triumph, but in tragedy. The galaxy was forever scarred, a grim reminder that even the most divine of creations cannot escape the flaws of their mortal heritage. Exactly what we were saying before. There it is.
Yeah.
So good.
And that's why they need Space Jesus to redeem them from their sins, because we're all flawed
There you go.
at the end of the day.
With the Primarchs coming back, if Sanguinius comes back, is that Space Jesus? Is that the joke?
Oof.
No.
Wow, there was a lot of anger behind that.
No.
If you're dead, you're dead. That's
Yeah.
it.
That's all. You only get one shot at this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll put Sanguinius through the Primaris Rubicon, and he'll be the first Primaris Primarch.
God damn it! Somebody ban this guy.
I'm trying to get him out.
That's why you like me, for my
Mute
fresh
him.
heretical ideas.
Mute him.
I am Ballistarius Call right now, and you guys are the old Imperium. That's what's happening. That's the dynamic here.
Oh, god damn.
All right. Brother versus brother, like this entire conversation. The choice of sides during the Horus Heresy was a crucible in which the fate of the galaxy was forged. The Primarchs, each unique in their temperament, experience, and relationship with the Emperor, made their fateful decisions based on a mix of loyalty, pride, ambition, and manipulation. For the loyalist Primarchs, their devotion to the Emperor and the belief in the Imperium's mission outweighed any personal grievances or doubts. They clung to the ideas of duty and unity, even as the galaxy crumbled around them. In contrast, their traitor Primarchs were seduced by chaos, disillusionment, or resentment, seeing their father's vision as either flawed or as a betrayal of their own potential. Their defection was as much an act of rebellion as it was an embrace of the darker destiny. I don't know why, but I just had a funny thing of the Primarchs rebelling. It just, their emo Primarchs, like, you don't even know me, Dad. I'm joining Horus and just running out of the house.
Yeah, a Raven Guard player would think that.
I would think that. I would.
Yes. Oh,
Dude.
he beat me.
Gotcha, bitch.
When the Shrike model came out and they gave him the hair that was swooped across one of his eyes, I was like, I'm still cutting off and putting that helmet up there, but I'm keeping that head for something else. That is the best head they've ever made.
Yeah, instead of having the laurels on the helmet, all the Raven Guards have that fucking haircut on their helmet.
Oh, so good. Now I want to glue it to a helmet. That's amazing.
Is it?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know what you're talking about. This divide between the loyalists and traitors symbolizes the inherent tragedy of the heresy. It reflects not just the personal flaws and virtues of the Primarchs, but also the underlying instability of the Emperor's grand vision. The heresy demonstrated that even the most godlike beings were vulnerable to the human fatalities of pride, jealousy, and despair. The outcomes of their choices reverberate across the millennia. The loyalists preserved the Imperium, but at terrible cost, sacrificing the Emperor's dream of a brighter future. Meanwhile, the traitors, many of whom began their rebellion out of frustration or noble intent, became the twisted avatars of chaos, their legacies warped into eternal ruin. Their choices shaped a galaxy condemned to an endless war, each side forever locked in the shadow of that pivotal betrayal. So with that, we're just going to run through the 18 Primarchs that we know of really quick. By their names, we got Lionel Johnson of the Dark Angels, Leman Russ of the Space Wolves, Rogaldorn the Imperial Fists, Rabude Gilliman of the Ultramarines, Poster Boy, Ferrus Manus of the Iron Hands, Vulcan of the Salamanders, Sanguinius of the Blood Angels, Corvus Corax, the best one from Raven Guard, I can never say this guy's name, Jaghati Khan. Did I get that right? Jagatai Khan, thank you, of the White Scars. And then the Traitor Legions. We have Horus Lupercal of the Sons of Horus, later the Black Legion. Fulgrim of the Emperor's Children, Perturabo from the Iron Warriors, Angron of the World Eaters, Mortarion of the Death Guard, Magnus the Red, who did nothing wrong, of the Thousand Sons, Lorgar of the Word Bearers, Conrad Cruz from the Night Lords, and last but not least, Alfarius Omegon, the dual Primarch of the Alpha Legion.
Did you say Conrad Cruz like it was Tom Cruise's brother?
I might have.
That's how it
am I
is.
wrong?
That's always the way it's
and
been.
his brother Conrad.
Yeah, Conrad Cruz. Is that not his name?
Conrad Kurz.
I'm dyslexic.
Nah.
I'm legitimately
Couldn't be.
dyslexic. So if I don't hear someone say it, whatever I read it the first time, it's locked in until I'm corrected.
I tried for many years to use that as an excuse. Oh, I'm dyslexic for my reading. But then I transferred into this where it's like, well, when you read read a word for the first time and you don't know how to say it, that means you learned it through reading. So big brain there. It goes over a little better than dyslexic because then they ask for paperwork and then you're fucked.
When you can't prove it.
Well, so I talked to my doctor and he's like, I mean, I can, but I don't know what it's going to do for you. And I'm like, this is what it's going to do for me. When people say I'm lying, I can go, nah.
You got a certificate of the Frank Reynolds donkey brain, do you?
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Sorry to correct you.
So
no, I appreciate no one had corrected me before. I'd said Cruz before, and everyone's like, yeah, good job, buddy. You know his name. No one ever called me on it.
Good job, buddy.
Stupid.
Yeah, so you named all 18 there, but as we know, there's 20 Primarchs. 2 of them were lost. So let's just give you a little quick thing on them. There's quite a bit information on them, like lots of teasers throughout all the books, but we'll give you the main little bit. The tragic enigma of the lost Primarchs remains one of the darkest mysteries of the Great Crusade. The records of the 7th and the 11th Primarchs were obliterated, their names and legacies erased from the annals of history. In the Imperial Palace, the statues that would have honored those lost sons of the Emperor stand empty, their pliffs vacant, a silent testament to their absence. Rogeldorn, in his somber reflections within the Lightning Tower, speaks of them only in passing, suggesting that their tragic fates were once considered aberrations, shrouded in mystery and untold sorrow. Dorn wondered if these untold stories were not warnings, ignored and left unheeded. The fate of the 2nd and the 11th Primarch is veiled in the deepest shadows. Their statues, draped in mourning cloths, remain unseen and untouched, offering no answers. Their absence haunts the halls of the Imperial Palace. In whispered conversations between Magnus the Red and Logar, there were fleeting mentions of an oath taken by Horus and Fulgrim, one that bound them to silence regarding their lost brothers. The consequences of their removal from the Imperial record seemed to ripple through time, their legacy denied, yet hinted at the hushed rumors of sudden increase in recruitment to the Ultramarines Legion, possibly drawing the remnants of the lost legions. The speculation suggests that some of the fallen sons Astartes may have been absorbed into the ranks of the remaining legions, yet their origins and purpose remain tragically lost to the tides of history. Yeah, let's do some like deep meta, like deep back in the day meta. These 2 were originally created so you could kind of create your own legions from them, your own chapters. But we are far, far past that. Like I proudly proclaim that anyone who takes like that kind of old lore and tries to make an unknown legion from them, you're doing it wrong. That's not the point of them anymore. We're far past that point in the lore. These are supposed to remain untouched, secrets beyond secrets. No chapters were made from them. There's no more. This is not how you make your chapters anymore. They're a relic.
Yeah, I'm just scrolling through my Warhammer Bible, 3rd edition, right here.
That's Black Templar.
Yeah, as I do. Yeah, it's the 3rd edition that I always have this with me when we record. It's the 3rd edition rule book, just to see what it has, if there was anything that they had on the lost Primarchs, or even the Horus Heresy, because I know it's just kind of a brief mention in things, but I will have to go through this a little bit more thoroughly. But yeah, you're right, Mark, that it was this cool idea, like, no, you could just make up your own. And then I think this is kind of the pre-successor chapters kind of thing that was pushed. And I think this is great. You know, like we have the Carcharodons, which is a successor chapter. What are you smiling for, Logan? What is that?
Someone said they were female, the 2 lost Primarchs.
Oh, there's
false.
I'm laughing at chat.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
No. So like it's the idea of like you can have your own chapter 100%. It's a successor chapter of whatever you want it to be, like Carcharodons, like we talk about, to kind of say no, I've got one of the lost legions back in the day, totally cool, yeah, that's great. And like now you said we're way beyond that. Like it's just
like
it's
back in the day, we're talking like second edition back in the day. Like we're talking 30 years ago type back in the day, not just last year. Like we're far past that.
yeah.
Maybe the only other thing that I will state about them before we move on is they're always described as the lost and the damned. And I can't wait till we do an episode on them and I'll share my theories on what that actually means. But I don't think this is the time or the place.
Yeah, it is very interesting, but yeah.
There's so much cool stuff with them and like the Legion of the Damned and all the little lore behind and all the things the Primarchs say in the books that it really is its own episode just to dive into these two people we know nothing about, really.
Isn't that the thing, eh? We know nothing about them. Here's a 4-hour episode.
Yeah, right.
And not to be stickler again, but like you said, Legion of the Damned, that is very different than the Lost and the Damned.
Yeah, no. I'm saying that. I heard a long time ago that some people think the Legion of the Damned was from the Lost Legion.
Okay. Oh, interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. New lore just dropped on Lorehammer.
New lore.
All right. Beyond the heresy. In the aftermath of the Horus heresy, the fates of the Primarchs were varied and tragic as the galaxy they once sought to conquer. Let me read that again. In the aftermath of the Horus heresy, the fates of the Primarchs were varied and tragic as the galaxy they once sought to conquer. With the death of Horus and the collapse of the traitor legions, the Imperium was left in ruin, and the surviving Primarchs, now deeply scarred by the war and its betrayal, were forced to confront a universe irrevocably changed. Some, like Rogel Dorn and Rabute Gilliman, sought to rebuild and maintain the Imperium's fragile order, though the cost was steep. The Emperor, gravely wounded in his final battle against Horus, was entombed within the Golden Throne, unable to guide or direct his sons any longer, leaving them to struggle with their legacies in a galaxy that no longer saw the unity they once fought for. There's more of the tragedy. So even the Horus heresy itself is tragic, but now we get into the grimdark vibe of, yes, the aftermath is really just kind of well, now what? For many of the Primarchs,
man, they were doing so well, and then all of a sudden, they were doing well for like 200 years, and then they hit a little speed bump and threw 10,000 years of history into chaos.
Yeah, and the kind of now what vibe of like, there had to have been this moment of like, well, what the fuck do we do now? But yeah. For many of the Primarchs. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Logan.
I was going to say that was one of the things I liked a lot about the beginning of the Dark Imperium books was it starts in the Horus Heresy with Gilliman chasing Fulgrim and him losing, and then he wakes up later in this millennium. It's just it was they tied it in so beautifully with the 30K and 40K in the same book. It was just a fun experience.
Very cool. For many of the Primarchs, the wounds of the Horus heresy were both physical and spiritual, and the galaxy's great conflict left an indelible mark on their souls. Leman Russ, raddest of them all, better than Corax. It's written here.
I definitely wrote that in the notes. You fucking liar.
Read the notes as they are. It's highlighted and everything.
Leman Russ, the fierce and unyielding space wolf, disappeared into the Eye of Terror, his fate sealed in myth, while Sanguinius, the beloved and angelic Primarch of the Blood Angels, was lost forever, his sacrifice a testament to the tragedy of the heresy. Others like Vulcan and Jagatai Khan were believed to have vanished into the unknown, their fates ultimately shrouded in mystery. The traitor Primarchs, those who would side with Horus, were not exempt from their grim end either. Some, such as Angron, Mortarion, and Fulgrim, were consumed by the dark powers of chaos, becoming demon princes and ruling over their corrupted legions within the Eye of Terror, their souls eternally twisted by the ruinous forces they had embraced. The galaxy, forever scarred by the heresy, became a cold, unforgiving place, and the Primarchs, those who survived and those who fell, remained echoes of a time when the Imperium's light seemed unassailable, now dimmed by the shadows of their choices.
And welcome
Everybody
to the
get
setting
that?
we all know and love, 40K.
Here we go.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Like we were doing so well, and it just went to shit so quick.
Yep.
And we haven't been able to recover.
Yeah, and it could be a whole nother podcast episode on who's really at fault for causing the Horus heresy. Horus's name is in it, but was he really the one? Was it the gods? Was it Magnus? There's just so much cool stuff there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I do want to add one more thing because we're making fun of our Primarchs beefing right now. But my Primarch was last seen flying towards the Eye of Terra, so I'm pretty sure he's in the Eye of Terra with Russ chasing Lorgar or somebody down.
Side by
cool.
side,
that.
like friends.
Yeah, just a giant, and I think they're warp corrupted too. So Russ looks like a giant wolf, and Fulgrim
Probably.
looks raveny now.
Yeah.
Which reminds
just a
me,
wolf and a raven. Cool.
yeah, right. Have you heard the rumor
Dog
that
and a bird.
you're getting your Primarch next year, Court?
Yeah, yes. And then this opens up like that. Should we have Primarchs? Like, will I buy that model and paint it? 100%. Will I put it on the table? Probably not.
Yeah.
I've never seen you field Space Wolves.
Yeah, like even at the beginning of this episode, I was talking about like how we're forming this. Like we're talking about the myth, the legend of 30K. And the more we find out about them, the less mysterious, the less it kind of appeals to you almost. But maybe that's just us nerds,
I'm 50-50 on it. I would love to play with my Primarch on the tabletop. I think that would be super cool, but at the same time, the mystique is gone now because I know where he is. So it's like I lose my story, but I get a toy. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a good way to put it.
Yeah. We got a couple comments here. I'm just gonna say Purge. What he says, there was female Space Marines in first edition. Where do you think they come from? Get fucked, you fucking nerd. The Space Marines back then weren't even Space Marines? Come on, get a grip. Anyways, next comment. Gazkill is the second Primarch. That's a better idea than what Purge says. The galaxy is objectively better without Primarch, says Nemo Forever. The next one, Nemo, that's heresy. Grimalda says, man, I'm gonna have to agree with no hero hammer. Yeah, Gorka Mork have been around since the start. So yeah, there's some comments. We got a mixed bag. People are very divided on the Primarchs, and maybe one day we can have our own real life brother versus brother fist fight out in some parking lot where we control it. Finally discover who is right in this matter, and might makes right. So meet me at the local Walmart.
Very big E of you there.
Yeah, what did you call it? Compassionate tyranny? Is that what it is?
I think Jax Carnage came up with that.
Yeah, he did.
It's good. It's good.
The Lorehammer Heresy. Yeah, our lore helpers have been joking about doing an event called the Lore Helper Heresy, where they both try to rile up as many people for their own side and try to take over the Discord from me. So we'll see where that goes. It makes me nervous, but also find me in that Walmart parking lot.
Well, don't forget, some of the lore masters are going to side with you and some are going to be against you. So it just determines if you see a new group chat with a certain number of lore master lights in there, you know which side they're on.
Nice.
Why can't I enter this chat? What don't they want me to see?
What don't they want me to see?
Nothing to see here, just heresy. I mean, hanging out.
Cool. Well, we have one more little section about the lost future of the Primarchs. I'm going to post a link to join us in the show. First people who enter our chat, I'll let them come to us. But be quick. Here we go. You can take it away, Logan.
Oh, take it away. Okay, I was going to see. All right. The lost future of the Primarchs. Much speculation surrounds the Emperor's true intentions for the Primarchs, and his grand vision come to fruition, and the galaxy has been secured under the banner of an uncontested, peaceful human dominion in the aftermath of the Great Crusade. Beneath the Imperial Palace, hidden in the deepest bowels of Terra, a vast subterranean complex has been prepared, an abode for the Primarchs, should they ever be called to rest in a time of peace. This complex contains 20 spacious, meticulously designed apartments, each crafted to accommodate the massive form of the Emperor's sons. Overlooking a great lake, the quarters were indeed intended as a tranquil sanctuary where the Primarchs could dwell together, far from the blood-soaked theaters of war they had been born to. Corvus Corax, at least, is known to have briefly stayed in his designated quarters when he visited Terra at the dawn of the Horus Heresy, though such visits were fleeting. The notion that all Primarchs might have gathered in this quiet haven, living out their days in peace following the Great Crusade's victorious conclusion, seems in hindsight a mere dream, a vision of the Emperor's perhaps overly optimistic hopes. For the Primarchs were born for more than mere peace. There were warriors, conquerors, leaders forged to command and battle across the stars. The idea of an extended respite removed from the conflicts that shaped their existence would have been a hollow one for most, if not all of them. Yet, the Emperor did not entirely abandon these plans. The infrastructure for the Primarch Project was preserved, along with its knowledge. The original gene stock, dormant but potent, was stored in a secret, heavily guarded location, its purpose unknown but deeply significant. A very act of safeguarding these genetic samples, perhaps for future use, potentially in a time of peace rather than a war, suggests that the Emperor envisioned the Primarchs not as mere tools of war, but as key figures in some greater, more complex plan. However, the tragic events of the Horus Heresy led to the loss of pure Primarch gene seed, which, after falling into the hands of the Raven Guard, was corrupted by the by Chaos Taint, and ultimately stolen by Alpha Legion. It is unclear whether the Primarch quarters or the laboratories of the Primarch Project remain in the 41st millennia, but was once hidden beneath the Imperial Palace, is now, like so much of the Emperor's grand design, lost to time and tragedy.
Yeah, wouldn't that be a room to discover? Like, you just walk back into that palace and be like, oh, here's all this shit. There's actually 22 Primarchs here, too. Didn't make it out of the pods.
Yeah, that's Gork and Mork.
That's Gork and Mork for you.
I didn't know any of that, by the way. Like, all of that, like, oh, we're all going to live in an apartment complex that Daddy made for us. I had no idea on any of that. Never heard that before.
It gives me, like, Thanos vibes after he snapped. Like, he just was peaceful and went to be a farmer. Like, after they're done, in their purest form, after they're done, bred for war to conquer the galaxy, and it's done being conquered, they're done. They can just
triple nerding
or toolbox. Hard to say.
We're like, I don't know. We're in the 8s for nerding though, because we've mentioned like 7 other franchises so far. You're crushing it.
Yeah. Well, what a fucking episode. What a start to this glorious undertaking we're starting, man. 72 episodes of just the deepest, most intricate, heartbreaking characters we'll ever come across.
Man. For sure. It's going to be a journey, and it's going to be a lot of fun, especially with all the other lore masters in on this. It's just going to be such an experience, not just for us, but the audience. Like, they're in for a real show over the next year, or however long it takes to do all of this.
Yeah, it's going to be cool too, because like I'll arrange it. You know, we have 3 kind of episodes a week and 3 teams going, but there's 4 episodes, so everyone will get to talk about a Primarch at some point. Everyone will talk about, you know, you won't just be talking Primarchs every time, so we'll really get a different opinion, and everyone will get to say something about every legion. So that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it'll be a ton of fun.
Speaking of other people's opinions, I think now is the time for the call-ins. Grimaldus, my banner brother, I'm going to bring you to the floor. It looks like you're just doing something, so I'll just stall. Let's bring him. Okay. Yo, Grimaldus, what's good?
Hey, how's it going, fellas? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Perfect.
Yeah, what's up, man?
How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Fabulous.
Heartbroken.
I'm
We had
screaming for you. Get out of here.
So, what do you think, man? Did you learn anything interesting? You hyped? Do you got a favorite Primarch? Lay your thoughts on me.
So coming from like a generation of Warhammer that you guys come from, like 20 years old. Now you guys are the lore masters, as far as I'm concerned. Coming in pretty virgin to the whole concept of Primarchs. Anything that's been coming out pertaining to the Primarchs has just been eye-opening. I did very much like the original lore where it was kind of left open-ended, so you could create these stories with your friends. Like when you were saying you had spoke with your friends in the basement. Oh, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? That literally just brought me back like 15 years ago, and just like this little sweaty kids in the basement. Just not like that's literally where my mind went. Like, yeah, this is really
Right?
what brought me into the Warhammer universe. So
Yeah, man.
anything that's go ahead.
Yeah, like just I think we've all had those moments with our friends where we're all just beat red from yelling at each other about this fucking fantasy universe that are just core memories, man.
Yeah, well, I mean that's the beauty of this. Like when I had first come into this Discord, a lot of people were lore horrors. Myself, I'm a tabletop guy, and it's just amazing to see how much attraction a universe like this gets, whether it be from this side or this side. It is just phenomenal. And you know, I've learned more from kids. Sorry, I don't mean to use that term in a bad way, but like more from individuals that had been alive less in time than I've been playing this game, and I'm just jaw dropped every single time I hear some of these guys open their mouth. Like, God damn, what the fuck have I been doing with the rest of my life? Not learning this.
The regret. He only has one regret, in that there wasn't enough time dedicated to 40K.
We're not all perpetuals like you, Mark. So
Yeah. So do you have a favorite Primarch, and if so, why?
man, I really gotta say, I used to be a Blood Angels fanboy, but upon my years of corruption, I've become a rather big fan of Magnus.
He's whipping out a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Those are super cool.
Yeah, I really like the Thousand Suns. It's a pretty tragic story, and it's just that brings more to the grim dark setting that 40K and Games Workshop has produced for us. That we can just take and grasp and do whatever the fuck we want with it.
Yeah, like he's a great example of just like not all bad guys are bad. You know, not all of them start off just like maniacal mustache twirling villains, you know. We get there eventually, but that's not how we start.
I mean, you live long enough, or you either die a hero, or you live long enough to be a villain. And gotta say, Magnus fit the bill on that one.
For sure.
That's why I said Magnus did nothing wrong.
Well, that's questionable. There was some things wrong, but like I mean, at the end of the day, I believe the same. Like, he fucked up a little bit, but I mean, what's one little pee slap?
Yeah. Cool. Well, we got a lot of caller-ins here. Closing thoughts before we jump to the next one.
Man, guys, keep it up. Anyone who hasn't joined the Patreon, get on that shit. You can be like cool and get a fucking Lorehammer banner like that. Get on it.
Yeah. And I think are you gonna try hosting the secret level Warhammer thing again on the Discord after this episode?
Yeah.
Or
so who's ever gonna be on after the episode? I think Mark said it was 17 minutes. If you join the Discord, Mark can help you out with the Discord thing, or look at the Google Notes or YouTube notes. If you're not already in the Discord, go to the general chat. I'll be hosting that video afterwards. So, shh. everyone be on mute. We're trying to watch the video.
Yeah, very cool. All right, man. Thanks, homie. We'll jump to the next person. And this will be Purge. You can defend yourself now, Purge, for all your heinous comments that you've made.
I just make them out of jest.
Oh, you're a troll. Okay, well then we'll go to the next person. Just kidding.
Like, I'm still adamant against female space marines, but I still think it's funny to get you riled up about them.
Yeah. And I'm an easy get too. I'm an easy target. You know, I'll feed that troll all day long. I think I get off to it just like you get off to trolling me.
It makes for good content.
Well, it just shows the passion that everybody has in their little, corners, sticking their banner in the ground. Like, no, I believe in this with this part of the life. That's cool. I like it.
Yeah. So questions for you, Purge, is how was the episode? Who's your favorite Primarch? What would you have done differently if you were the Emperor?
Favorite Primarch is Conrad because he's a hero of the Imperium. Without him, people would have known or would have never gone back to Terra to save the Emperor, and we'd have an even more dead Emperor than we have now.
Okay.
What I would have done differently is the Emperor should have done more indoctrination as opposed to being a father figure. Because as a father figure, he kind of fed all those emotions of jealousy and betrayal, where if it was just more about indoctrination, like, you are my tool and you are going to be a tool. You're nothing more than that to me. But he's like, no, I got the milk and I came back for you now.
Yeah, I just wonder how that would play out, though. Like, so, the Primarchs are thrown across the galaxy. Your technique would have worked if they didn't get flung across the galaxy. But he pulls up onto Caliban and he's like, well, Lionel Johnson, you're going to join me and just be my tool. As opposed to, Lionel Johnson, I've been looking for you. You're my firstborn son. It doesn't have the same appeal off the get-go.
May not have the same appeal, but in the same regard, Primarchs don't necessarily have the same way of thinking that a normal human has. Like, they're built literally for war and saying, hey, I found you and I need you to fight this war for me. Come back to the fold. Yeah.
But as a rebuttal, they were built for war, yes, but they were also built for diplomacy and politics and inspiration. And I think there is a little bit more to it in the sense that he wanted them to be different than the Thunder Warriors, and the desire to relate more to humanity than previously. So I think you're right, Purge. Like, I think if he was trying to do it the right way, in more of a streamlined, correct way, yeah, I think the distinction between like father figure and maybe just like leader would have been probably stronger had he gone with the leader vibe. But circumstances changed everything. Yeah, like Mark's saying, like having to go basically convince them. You get a lot more flies with honey than you do with vinegar, as they say. But they
Like
are
cool
tools of war, but they're tools of other things as well. They are diplomatic, and they're for, I don't want to say they're for the people, but they're not just war entities, I think.
But there's other Primarchs and their chapters that he'd wipe out just because they weren't going with the flow. So, like, how is that? All right, well, you'll wipe out my chapter because I'm worshiping you, or you're gonna say I'm a betrayer because I'm worshiping you, and now I'm the bad guy, in regards of some Primarch and the Emperor. Or I forget what chapter it is, but he wiped out an entire chapter just because they weren't going necessarily along with his game plan. And it's like, okay, so what kind of mood are you setting then for the rest of the Primarchs? Like, oh, I have to see you as a father figure, and if I don't tote this whole father figure line, then you go wipe me or my chapter out.
Yeah, and maybe that's the two, kind of talking about the two lost legions could be that way. I don't know. Again, we give the Emperor credit as being this almost perfect thing, but he's not perfect. And so it's this idea that, maybe, I don't know. It probably would have been better. I think you're right in some sense that like it probably could have been a more efficient reunification, and the Great Crusade could have probably been more effective had he just treated them as tools of war. But then we wouldn't have that story.
And that's what happens is you don't get the Horus Heresy. Now you have all these Primarchs and their chapters and all these Primarchs on the table. And it doesn't make for a good story, but if he wanted to be more efficient about it, then he would have treated them as tools of war.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. A cool what if scenario that maybe would be a fun bonus episode at some point would be, what if they didn't get scattered and the Emperor could have treated them from the get-go as tools, or less as that kind of reclaimer of his akin, But who knows where that would lead? That'd be fun to kind of delve down. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the Dorian heresy, different what if scenario.
No,
I've heard of it, but I don't know. I've heard that phrase.
Yeah, it's pretty old. Let's call it at least 15-year-old, where it was a very well fleshed out and thought out alternate universe of, what if Dorn led the Horus Heresy, and basically they flipped all the Primarchs, so the bad became good and the good became bad, and it's pretty cool. Definitely, I've had it on my list of bonus episodes for fucking 5 years, and eventually I'll get to it. But there's some cool what ifs. Purge, any other thoughts before we jump to Jax?
Just make sure you join the Lorehammer Patreon.
You guys are shills for old Lorehammer. I appreciate that. Thank you. We were having a chat in the Discord today about different perks for our patron members, and man, what would get people to give me your dollars? Like, what do I need to do? Do I need to be live stream shirtless? I'll do it if that's what it takes, but I want to know. I want to hear from the people. I don't want to just give away the gifts for free.
The militia, having everyone that joins at a certain perk range becomes a guard, I think would be a good start. But as we were talking, you still need that. That'd be like your third wing perk, and you get it for the 4th tier perk, but then you need something special for the 4th tier.
Yeah, well, maybe we need to start doing like an official Lorehammer regiment, and then we already have the official Liber Malleus Astartes chapter. So yeah, maybe tier 3, you become a guardsman. We write your name in this regiment that we build out. You can choose what kind of fucking are you, artilleryman. But if you do a higher tier, then maybe you join the ranks of the Legion Astartes, the Liber Malleus. So we got some ideas brewing.
And we're going to get
be a tank commander.
Tank commander. Yeah. We're going to do the Lorehammer bands, though. We're going to do Acid Tyrant and the what was the other one for today?
The E-Pop Emperor's band.
Yeah,
E-Pop Emperor's. Yeah. We'll call it something cool, but like we'll do these things. I'll get creative. I'll throw some stuff your guys' way.
E-Pop Grimdark Girl.
Oh, God.
Oh yes.
Yeah. And then that will slowly spawn into Mark body pillows, and then it's a whole big fucking thing.
Wait, you guys don't have one?
Actually, what would be cool is if we could get like a miniature head for Mark, and then we could build a custom mini of Mark.
Dude, okay.
Yeah,
I purchased. You say that I have a list of Mark and I have talked about just fun little things that we could do, and not to throw the rock into the lake here and have all the ripples, but like that was one thing that I talked about, and it was like, could we get somebody to sculpt 3D like STL files of Mark as like a space marine, like just the head or something?
Well, I think Court, you're included in this too. I think you buy a pack of lore master heads.
Whoa, so cool. God.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
I want it more for Imperial
cool.
Knight. I want to make Mark one of my pilots for one of my Imperial Knights.
That's sick.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, maybe that's a Patreon tier. You get access to some STL files or something like that. But definitely, if you're considering Patreon and you're just needing that extra little motivation to do it, message me, man. Like I'll shill for whatever I have to get your bucks. I want to make people happy, so to speak. So
I'm down for that shit too, man. Like I if you guys want, like I bring this every single time we record. If we get a bunch of patrons that want me just to like read sections of 3rd edition like old school rule book. There's so much cool stuff here. Like we could do, I'm trying to find here, like the throne room. I will literally in a cool voice with music that I have written because I'm also a composer.
He's so talented.
I will read all of this here in a cool voice with some background music. Adore the Emperor, for he is our protector. Things like that. Dude,
now on Patreon.
Yeah, we'll get some shit going. Sure.
Yeah. Cool. Well, Purge, thanks for joining. Yeah, we'll get the. Sometimes I cut people off a little too soon, and that's
you have
bad.
a bye. Just gone.
Adios.
Hey, you purged Purge. It's more accurate.
Oh, no. Up next we got Jax. Hey, Jax, welcome to the show.
I'm so happy. Primarchs. I've been waiting for 3 years now.
Yeah, man. There's some people from the beginning that are like, I've been listening to you for 7 years, and it's about fucking time, Mark. So I'm glad you guys are excited for the upcoming year.
Yep, gotta love them. The good, the bad, the Lorgars.
The bad and the Lorgars. Oh, I love that. That's great. Jax, who's your favorite then?
Lorgar.
It's got to be the most compassionate yet the most tyrannical. Actually, Conrad.
Okay.
Mr. Cruz himself.
Mm-hmm.
He's the embodiment
Tom
of that
Cruise.
compassionate tyranny that we were talking about. That's his part from the Emperor.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Listen,
want to flay you guys alive.
But if you have skin, then you can touch the hot oven and then you'll get hurt. So I need to flay you.
Look, it's just about setting an example. That's it.
This whole episode is so bad.
Yeah, you gotta love the stories of when he saves a girl from committing suicide, and then right after making her value life, kills her. So rules gotta be upheld.
There's very grimdark for sure. Do you play Night Lords then?
Yes, I do.
Sweet.
He's coming back. He's coming back. Conrad's gonna lead my army.
I was gonna say in 40K
He's
or
dead,
30K, but that kind of answer. He's dead.
I
love
machine
yeah.
killed.
I was gonna say
no.
The guy
It's just-
Tyler that plays in Funk, he uses Conrad, but it accounts as Abaddon, so he runs Conrad as Abaddon or as a Lord, whatever he needs. But he 100% runs the 30K Conrad with his 40K Night Lords.
Big shout out, Tyler's
that's
one of
awesome.
my best friends. Yeah, Night Lords for sure.
Yo, Jax, I seen your one comment there that the artwork of the Dorian Heresy is peak What If. Yeah, for sure. I always picture the Ultramarines, man. I always picture them because they basically branch off and start their own 500 worlds. But since they're kind of close to the Tau Empire, they align with the Tau. So then they get this cool Tau Ultramarine tech vibe where it's super sleek, but angular Tau armor. They got rail rifles and shit. Are you thinking of a specific Dorian Heresy artwork piece?
Have you seen the one where it's all the loyalists, the traitors turn loyalists? They're all like standing. You got like loyalist Mortarion, Horus with a halo. Conrad Curse, he's one of my favorites. He's one of the smallest, but it's like that loyalist Night Lord. It's like, ooh.
I love the Dorian Heresy. It's so I went on a deep rabbit hole one night just flipping through and reading all of it. I'm like, this is so cool.
Yeah, for sure. One of the coolest ones.
We're just blowing Court's mind today with new things.
Dude, I
He's learning
know.
about Secret Level, the Dorian Heresy. He's just
I'm learning. Another question we'll answer from T-Freeze is, Jax, what do you think? Did Malkador have any part in the Primarch Project, and what part did he have beyond being just like the Emperor's kind of sidekick?
I remember a part in a book where it's like, what's his name? Horus, the big man himself, who I keep forgetting. He got mad at Malkador. Like, if the Emperor is the father, Malkador is kind of like the chill uncle to most of them. But Horus and some of the traitors, Horus and some of the going to be traitors, and even some of the loyalists like confronted Malcador, and Horus was just pissed off. It's like, okay, my second and 11th brother, they're just gone, but not just like dead. They're like, you expunge them out of the records. All their statues were torn down. All their battle like reports, they've just been expunged and redacted. There's nothing of them. Is this what's going to become of us, Uncle? And then Malcador just force chokes him.
Yeah, like or Malcador is very involved with the Primarchs that he is around and stuff. And just jumping back to those unknown Primarchs, I forget if it was him or the Emperor, but somebody put like an actual psychic block on the memories of the Primarchs to keep them from thinking about it. And I believe he was talking to Rogel Dorn during like this, like Rogel Dorn was trying to remember, like, oh yeah, I remember my brothers. Wait, what were they like again? Oh man, and he was like trying to struggle, and Malcador's that they're just kind of like
very Malcador,
just like
more accurate Malcador,
like the little troll in the background.
Yeah,
he just appears as like the chill uncle who like dishes out candy to all his nephews, but then whenever they remember something too hard, he just magic.
Yeah. Cool.
Abracadabra.
What are your closing thoughts on the Primarch project?
Primarchs are awesome. They brought me into 40K, so they always have that nostalgic feeling. I gotta say, the Primarch project was actually really cool. All except for Moloch, mainly, because it's just the whole deal with like the Emperor like going to chaos of all things and be like, hey, how about we make a deal? And it's like, would he do that?
I think that's one of those weird mythos kind of things. Like it's almost take it or leave it, because I kind of am with you there. It's like there's the thing, oh, he tricked them though, like he got what he wanted. Like yeah, but it does seem weirdly out of character though, like to even approach that, you know, with the idea of like, I'm still just gonna get what I want. So yeah, I'm kind of
it kind of fits with me
what
though.
Even trade.
It fits in my head though, because he wants to be a tyrant, he wants to rule the universe, and that's an easy, quick way, a layup to rule the universe. And it also shows that the Emperor does have flaws. Like he made this bad deal because at the end of the day, despite all his power, all his grandeur, he is still a human.
Is someone on your roof, Mark?
Yeah.
What was
No, there's a big old lizard that would running past. It was pretty fucking cool. I love Panama, man. There's these big lizards that just run around and they make this like mating call. I would replicate it, but you probably heard it on the sound anyways. So
no, I haven't.
Crotalids around Mark's house confirmed.
Not gaslighting.
Yeah.
I legitimately have not heard the lizard.
Okay, well, I won't replicate it. And I have found a crocodile on my property, and it was just a little baby, like a little 1-footer. And me and my wife were like, let's fucking keep it. Can we keep it? Let's keep it. So we trapped it in a laundry basket and then moved into one of my showers, and I made this enclosure for it. And then we tried feeding it chicken wings for a couple days, but it wouldn't eat the chicken wings. So at that point, we're like, well, we don't want to hurt the little guy, and if it's not eating, we don't want it to like starve. So we let it out into the wild. And then the next morning, I went into my backyard, and one of my chickens had its head ripped off, death rolled, and it got its chicken wings for sure.
He was
That's
salty.
fucking wild, man.
I was gonna say he was salty. You put him in the bathtub, and he's like, "Give me chicken
man.
wings. I'll take my chicken wings."
Yeah, man, it was fucking wild. I haven't
That
seen
was
him
a classic
since, but-
goat Jurassic Park situation. T-Rex doesn't want to be fed; it wants to hunt.
Yeah,
Yo.
no, exactly, man, exactly. Panama's sweet, man. Another little quick island story for you all is there's a whole bunch of howler monkeys on this island, and a couple times a year, all the fruit falls on the ground. And if it doesn't get picked up, it ferments. So then the monkeys go and they eat this fermented fruit and get really drunk. And on a couple of my jungle walks, I've seen dogs, like packs of dogs, fight these drunk monkeys where they're just like, it's the fucking wildest thing, man, I've ever seen. Just a pack of dogs fighting drunk monkeys. It's crazy down here. I love Panama.
Panama's not a real country. That's not a real country.
Is Panama
It and I are very real.
of reality?
Yeah.
Panama is Meloc.
Mark, one day that
Primarch.
crocodile is gonna come back. Like it's gonna be a 12 feet long, and it's gonna be like, thanks for the chicken, man. And he's gonna like offer you a ride into the warp.
You
I was
had
gonna
my
say-
back. Now get on my back.
I love that. I was going to
You
say
gave me
Primarch and
free
Panama
chicken
are
one
just
time.
figments of the warp. They're not real.
We are very real, and you can come visit me at Paradise Reef Airbnb in Bocas del Toro. Come check me out. It's a great place.
Is there a parking lot? Because we got some beef to deal with, I think. No, I'm kidding.
Boat access only. Yeah. So, all right, Jax. Any closing thoughts?
One small thing that you guys had kind of touched up on a little bit, but each Primarch is actually psychically connected to the warp. And I know how much this got brought up to a degree, but like every Primarch, if they like choose to, they can be Corvus Corax in the warp. They can be a demon Primarch, but unaffiliated with Chaos, like Corvus.
Yeah, that is interesting. Like, maybe you're just using the word demon Primarch, and that's what pisses me off more. Like, I would describe it more like they know how to like master the warp. You know, they're psychers, just like any psyker can master the warp. It's not necessarily that they're doing it through demonic means. But yeah, no, that's a great point, man. They're all latent psychers to some degree, and they all have different kind of powers and abilities.
Yeah, I really hope you touch up on the like the Mortarion episode, maybe. But like he hates psychic powers, and he like hates psychers, all of them. So when he became a psyker himself, he just got like super depressed and is like, "Fuck this, man." But yeah, and then he hated Magnus for a while, and then Magnus helped him out a little bit, and Mortarion actually became like what he was supposed to be, just like a nice Primarch who was kind to his brothers, who didn't treat psychers like crap.
Yeah,
You
well,
know who else
maybe we'll.
Lehman Russ.
Ooh,
Battle axes are
rough.
very anti-psyker.
Yes.
Yeah.
The dog.
We're not
just
psychers,
the, just
we're
a wolf Primarch.
Yeah.
You make fun of Ravengard for being emo, but you are the most not like other girls Legion out of all of them.
That's because
Sorry,
I like a wolf.
What are you saying, Logan? You're cutting out.
I'm saying you're a bunch of furries and you're liars.
Cool. Well, Jax, thanks for calling.
Remember
in.
Nikea?
There's a couple more people in the chat. Nemo Forever, sorry we're not getting to you, but I think this Sunday we're recording an episode with Nemo Forever and Grimaldus, and those two are going to be we're doing a High Lords of Terra episode, so come check us out. But we're running late here, so let's get to our end notes. What are your boys' closing thoughts on this episode?
I thought it was fun. Like, you think you know a lot about the lore, and then I come in here and I'm like, oh wow, this is a lot of stuff I did not know. I always come in here thinking I know what's up, and I always leave going, this is something new to think of. So it was a really cool episode. I had a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, I agree. I love the idea of the Primarch Project, mostly because it really then kind of kicks off and delves into the Horus Heresy, which clearly was an emotional read for me. So thank you, Logan. I think it shows great characters within the setting or story of Warhammer, and I'm all about characters. I just think that the flaws, the strengths, everything, and so the Primarch Project showcases all of these guys that just were created and that we get to enjoy. And it's so cool, whether you enjoy them on the tabletop, and that's rad too, or you just enjoy the lore and the stories, whatever. But it's kaleidoscopic in the sense that like you get a little bit of everything with these guys. Yeah.
That's a cool way to describe it.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think my closing thoughts would be even the greatest amongst us can fall to treachery, chaos, damnation. So keep a close eye on your brothers, because they could be next. And with that, we'll jump to the shout outs here. If you like Lorehammer and you like homebrew lore, check out Lorehammer Listener Lore Podcast. man, it's tough to do some episodes. Like I just don't have a lot of time nowadays. But that podcast isn't dead. Don't worry. There's 200 episodes out there, and it's not dead till I hit 500. So don't you worry about that.
Yeah, and then we've also got the Funkatronic Rex podcast, which I was co-hosting, writing, producing, and everything. We're just on a hiatus right now until the end of the year, and so go check us out. You can just look us up on Spotify, Apple, wherever you find podcasts at Funkatronic Rex. That's FUNKATRONIC Rex, REX, Funkatronic Rex podcast. We talk board games, we talk card games, we talk nerd stuff, and we talk everything that's kind of funny in that realm.
Love it.
Yeah. And if you like nerd stuff, but also cryptids, conspiracies, and true crime, come check me out on YouTube at Hydra Thoughts. We're doing cryptids across America, some conspiracy theories, and some potential domestic terrorists or heroes of the people. Come check it out. You'll see.
Yeah, I think I have to after that fucking
yeah.
sale.
Oh, yeah.
Bitch. Terror.
Yeah.
That's just like
Wait,
the
is
Emperor.
Bigfoot a terrorist? Fuck.
Maybe. I don't know. You have to come see. You got to come check the video out.
See.
Hey, lost Primarch?
You're going to have me. Yeah, Bigfoot's the lost Primarch. You're going to have my face like this. The soy face pointing at Bigfoot and the Imperial Aquila on him.
Great thumbnail you just made for us. Perfect.
I got you.
Cool. And final shout out to our Patreon members and new Patreon members. Whether you're old or new, we appreciate every dollar you send our way. It really does allow me to create the time to do this. Like this year, I've been running my Airbnb the last 2 years, but this year I'm doing solely Lorehammer stuff because you guys have provided enough money for me to do that. So as much as I'm going to miss doing the Airbnb and giving couples a great vacation, I fucking love 40K. So no love lost there on that one. So thank you to all the Patreons for helping me do that. This last few days, we've had Zuga, Benjamin, and a female space marine join. So one of those dollars I will not be taking. The rest, thank you so much.
Take the blood money.
Green is green, I suppose, at the end of the day. So thanks everyone for joining the Patreon, and yeah, go check that out to support the show. Well, that's that. Another episode of Lorehammer in the Banks. Wednesday's episode, which I guess is tomorrow, is going to be Founding a Legion. And yeah, this time we talked about Primarchs. Next time we're going to be talking about Astartes. So very cool. See you all on the next episode.
Stay safe.
Cheers.